Chapter 1. Yijioga opened her eyes in the dark and damp corner. A strong sense of hatred surged up along with the memories. This was the Thunder Country's lofty abyss. The original owner of the body with the same name, the eldest daughter of the Yi family, was stabbed by her younger sister Xianxia, and pushed into the abyss to be used as a sacrifice to feed the bloodthirsty python. But Xianxia would never have thought that she killed her weak sister Yijioga, in exchange for the 21st century's top secret agent who was proficient in both medicine and poison. When Yijioga's soul completely fused with the original owner, a golden light flashed through her temple. Her black eyes shot out the light of hatred, and her blood-stained mouth revealed an extremely cold smile. Since those heartless relatives wanted her dead, then she had to crawl out of here alive to take revenge. Yijioga examined her body and found that both her legs were comminuted, and 2 of her left ribs were broken. Fortunately, they were not pierced into her lungs, and her arms and palms were also intact. She lay on the ground, her nails digging into the putrid mud. She dragged her broken body forward, leaving a twisted trail of blood in the pool of blood. Just as she endured the excruciating pain and crawled forward with difficulty, a low and bewitching voice rang out in the dark cave. "Do you want to live?" Yijioga suddenly looked up. In a dark corner there was a large black snake coiled up. Its scales looked like they were made of obsidian, emitting a majestic aura like the king of the night in the dark corner. A pair of purple crystal-like vertical pupils were staring at her with a domineering look. This was the bloodthirsty python? No, the bloodthirsty python had no horns on its head. There was a 7-inch-long purple horn on the python's head, which looked like the finest gemstone. The mysterious pattern carved on it was like the totem of an ancient tribe, containing a frightening power. The purple-horned python stretched out its long tail and wrapped Yijioga up. The red forked tongue of the snake slowly moved up her blood-stained neck, as if it was tasting something delicious. When it licked her lips, the snake's tongue actually probed inside and drew out a smear of bright red blood. Yijioga felt the soft and cold touch on her tongue and her scalp went numb. "You look ugly, but you taste good." After tasting Yijioga's blood, the purple-horned python revealed a human-like smile. The daughter of divine blood was indeed delicious. It was not in vain that he had waited here for so many years. It was a pity that it was too skinny, not even big enough for him to swallow it in one gulp. "Save me." Yijioga's black eyes emitted a strong will to survive, like a poppy flower blooming in blood. Since this purple-horned profound serpent could survive in the human race's 10,000 feet abyss, it was definitely not an ordinary demonic snake. It must have a way to save her. "Sure, as long as you can pay the price I want." The purple-horned serpent's voice was low and full of charm. Its graceful body coiled around Yijioga's body, and the tip of its cold tail actually moved along the base of her legs. Yijioga was so shocked that her body stiffened. Her heart was suddenly filled with anger mixed with humiliation. Damned perverted snake, daring to covet her body. "You don't even have this kind of awareness and you still want me to save you?" The purple-horned serpent had a mocking look on its face, but the tip of its tail was making circles on her lower abdomen. Yijioga's black eyes flashed with determination. He gritted his teeth and said, "Fine. As long as you can save me, I will give you anything you want." In any case, she had nothing left. As long as she could survive, not to mention her body, she could even sell her soul to it. Deal. After guarding the 10,000 feet abyss for 100 years, it could finally sign a contract with the daughter of divine blood and leave this place. The white snake teeth pierced Yijioga's thin wrist. Blood fusion contract formed. Yijioga only felt a sharp pain from her wrist to her soul. Before she fainted, a charming face appeared in front of her eyes. Deep purple eyes, a high nose, moist red lips, and a charming smile. "Remember, my name is Zhou Xian." Chapter 2. When Yijioga woke up again, she realized that she had left the abyss and was lying in a deserted alley in Shangjing. She held onto the wall to get up and was shocked to find that not only were her injuries healed, but her body was also full of energy. What did that snake demon called Zishang do to her? At this moment, the sound of a carriage could be heard from afar, accompanied by the yelling of a guard. "The crown prince is out, all bystanders make way." The commoners retreated to the side and whispered, "I heard that the crown prince is going to be engaged to Miss Xianxia. Miss Xianxia is the most talented alchemist and is a match made in heaven with the crown prince." But isn't the crown prince engaged to Yi Jiuge? How can he be engaged to Miss Yi Xianxian? Yi Jiuge's physique is trash, her appearance is ugly and she's stupid. How can the crown prince marry her? That's right, so what if there's an engagement? I won't marry a useless trash. Yi Jiuge's face was cold. She didn't expect to see her fiancé and her sister showing off their affection right after she climbed out of the abyss. What a coincidence. When the commoners retreated to the sides of the street, Yi Jiuge walked out of the alley and went straight to the middle of the road. How dare you? Get lost. The guard who was clearing the way whipped Yi Jiuge. Yi Jiuge's eyes turned cold as she grabbed the whip and threw the guard onto the carriage. Bang! The guard and the coachman collided and both fell to the ground. The scene was chaotic. Who's causing trouble? A dignified male voice came from the carriage. At the same time, an intermediate spiritualist's pressure pressed down on Yi Jiuge. Yi Jiuge raised her hand and turned the pressure into nothingness. Her actions caused the other party to let out a sound of, eh? Then a man wearing a purple robe came down from the carriage. This man was handsome with long and narrow eyes and thin lips. He was the crown prince of Thunder Country, Dongfang Jianming. When he saw Yi Jiuge, he immediately said in disgust, Yi Jiuge, are you crazy? Who? A pretty girl with delicate facial features and skin whiter than snow heard the crown prince's words and immediately poked her head out of the carriage. When she saw Yi Jiuge, she couldn't help but exclaim, why aren't you dead? She had personally pushed Yi Jiuge into the bottomless abyss, so how could he have climbed back up? Yeah, I also thought that I was dead for sure after being pushed into the abyss by you. I didn't expect that the king of hell wouldn't accept it and insisted that I come to ask, how can there be a woman like you, Yi Xianxian, who has a heart like a snake and a heart like a scorpion? Yi Jiuge looked at Yi Xianxian and smiled coldly. Although her face that was covered in black scars was ugly, her back was straight like a towering mountain, and her body exuded an independent arrogance. When the surrounding commoners heard this, they started to discuss. Yi Xianxian actually pushed her own sister into the 10,000 zhang abyss? Is that true? I didn't expect her to be so vicious despite her beauty. Yi Xianxian secretly cursed in her heart. Yi Jiuge, this damned slut, he actually dared to speak the truth in front of everyone. But so what? No one would believe her. Big sister, even if you don't want brother crown prince to be close to younger sister, you can't make up such a lie to frame younger sister. Yi Xianxian's face was filled with grievance as she said tearfully, you made yourself into such a sorry state, younger sister's heart aches seeing you like this. Brother crown prince, don't come looking for Xianxian in the future. Xianxian really can't bear to see big sister hurt herself like this. As Yi Xianxian spoke, tears rolled down her exquisite face like a broken string of pearls, but it didn't damage her makeup at all. That delicate and touching appearance is able to arouse a man's desire to protect her. She understood her advantage very well. One was a delicate and pitiful genius pill master. The other was an overbearing ugly trash with a scar on her face. It was obvious who the people would believe more. The surrounding commoners immediately looked at Yi Jiuge with disdain. I've long heard that Yi Jiuge is jealous by nature, but I didn't expect that he would actually accuse his own sister in front of everyone. That's right, look at her bloody clothes. How could a normal person still be standing here after losing so much blood? It must be fake. Yi Jiuge smiled coldly and asked Yi Xianxian, if you didn't harm me, why did you ask me why I didn't die the moment you saw me? Yi Xianxian's face stiffened. She didn't know how to explain her slip of the tongue just now. She quickly looked at Dongfang Jianming pitifully. Xianxian, don't cry, it's not your fault. Dongfang Jianming immediately hugged Yi Xianxian with distress and turned to look at Yi Jiuge as if he was looking at trash. Yi Jiuge, no matter what you do, it's useless. This empress will not marry you. If you know what's good for you, get out of here. Otherwise, don't blame this empress for being rude. Hee, Dongfang Jianming, this scumbag actually openly shielded Yi Xianxian in order to break off the engagement with me. He's really despicable. Yi Jiuge, are you deaf? Didn't you hear what this empress said? Dongfang Jianming clamored for a long time, but when he found that Yi Jiuge didn't respond at all, he became even angrier. Yi Jiuge made a puzzled expression, looked up and down at Dongfang Jianming and asked, Big brother, who are you? What does it have to do with you if I teach my sister a lesson? Do I know you well? There was a burst of laughter around, but it soon disappeared. Dongfang Jianming's face turned red. He pointed at Yi Jiuge and scolded, don't pretend to be crazy in front of this empress. You will only make this empress feel more disgusted. Big sister, I know you resent the crown prince in your heart, so you deliberately don't recognize him. But no matter what, he is also your fiancé. You hurt his heart by doing this. Xianxia looked distressed for His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. You mean he is my fiancé? Yi Jiuge made a look of disbelief, pointed at Dongfang Jiaming and said, Impossible, my fiancé will never be so despicable and shameless. The engagement with me hasn't been dissolved yet, but he has already hooked up with others. He doesn't even let my sister go. He is worse than a beast. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Yi Jiuge, how dare you say that the crown prince is despicable and shameless? Xianxia looked angry, but she sneered in her heart. Yi Jiuge is really stupid. When she goes back and accuses Yi Jiuge of humiliating the royal family, she will let people drag her to the streets and let everyone see how despicable she is. I see that you speak very smoothly, so you must be thinking so in your heart. Yi Jiuge nodded in agreement. Xianxia's face stiffened. She didn't expect Yi Jiuge to become so eloquent that she couldn't say a word. Yi Jiuge, shut up. Dongfang Jiaming had never been pointed at and scolded like this before. You are the one who should shut up. Yi Jiuge was not afraid of shouting. Chapter 3. Yi Jiuge took out a piece of ordinary fire spirit jade from her pouch and threw it at Dongfang Jiaming. She sneered, This is the engagement token that your emperor father sent to me. I'll return it to you now. In the future you'd better get lost. Yi Jiuge's words made the onlookers gasp again. Oh my god. The ugly good-for-nothing of the Yi family must be crazy. Not only did she humiliate the crown prince in public, but she also wanted to break off the engagement with him. Yi Jiuge. These 3 words seemed to be squeezed out from the gaps of Dongfang Jiaming's teeth. It's useless to call your mother now. Hurry up and return the purple thunderwood that my grandfather gave you. Don't be so thick-skinned and refuse to let go. Yi Jiuge's grandfather, Yun Tianwei, was the strongest spirit alchemist in the Thunder Country. This purple thunderwood was a treasure that he brought back from the secret realm of the Red Moon. It had a special effect on the Dongfang family's secret skill. In order to curry favor with the strongest spirit alchemist, the imperial family pestered Yi Jiuge to get engaged. They used an ordinary fire spirit jade to take away the purple thunderwood. This marriage was also very famous in the nearby spirit cities. Good. Very good. Dongfang Jiaming was already mad. He pulled off the purple thunderwood that he had been carrying with him and threw it at Yi Jiuge. Yi Jiuge raised her hand and caught the palm-sized purple thunderwood. The burr on it scratched her palm, and a special spiritual power quietly flowed into her hand along the small wound. She calmly put away the purple lightning wood. Brother Crown Prince, Yi Jiuge is up to no good. She is deliberately provoking you. Don't be fooled. Xianxia was anxious. The purple thunderwood was extremely rare and worth tens of thousands of gold coins. It was also very beneficial to those who cultivated thunder spells. Dongfang Jiaming relied on this purple thunderwood to enter the intermediate spiritualist realm at the age of 20. Without this purple thunderwood, what kind of genius was he? Wouldn't it be a loss for her to marry him? Xianxia, don't worry about this matter. Dongfang Jiaming glanced at Xianxia. His eyes seemed to be spewing fire. Xianxia knew that Dongfang Jiaming was really angry. She dared not say anything, but she hated Yi Jiuge to death. Damn trash, she was stabbed by me and was pushed into the abyss, but she still managed to climb out. If I had known earlier, I would have chopped her into minced meat and fed her to the dogs. Yi Jiuge, I've returned the item to you, but you must pay for the humiliation you've caused to our royal family with blood. Dongfang Jiaming's eyes were gloomy, and the pressure of an intermediate spiritualist pressed against Yi Jiuge. If this good-for-nothing dared to break off the engagement with him, he must have something to rely on. Rumor has it that there are treasures at the bottom of the 10,000 feet abyss. She must have had a fortuitous encounter to be able to climb up from there. No matter what treasure Yi Jiuge obtained, he would make her spit it all out. The number 1 genius martial practitioner of the Great Yuan dynasty is indeed very capable. You actually want to challenge a cultivator like me? Yi Jiuge chuckled, his face full of disdain. Yi Jiuge, since you dared to humiliate me, you'll have to pay the price. However, considering our past relationship, I can let you have a few moves first. Dongfang Jiaming pretended to be generous and said, as long as Yi Jiuge dared to compete with him, he would be able to find out what treasures she had on her. Yi Jioge made a thoughtful expression. How does your highness intend to yield? I'll let you have three slaps. Yi Jioge interrupted Dongfeng Jiaming's words. Her figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Slap, slap, slap. 3 loud and heavy slaps fell on Dongfeng Jiaming's face. Everyone was stunned, including Dongfeng Jiaming. His dazed expression, coupled with the bright red palm print, was indescribably ridiculous. The left and right are not very symmetrical. You should let me have 4 slaps. Yi Jioge looked at Dongfeng Jiaming's red and swollen face, sighed and shook her head. Yi Jioge, I'm going to kill you. Dongfeng Jiaming was mad. He had never been humiliated like this in his life. Dongfeng Jiaming, before you kill me, go back and ask your father if he still remembers the promise he made to my grandfather. Yi Jioge's eyes darkened, emitting a cold electric light that made people not dare to look directly at her. At that time, her grandfather saved the emperor's life with a secret soul recovery pill, and the emperor personally promised to take care of his family. If the emperor couldn't remember, she didn't mind helping him recall. Brother Crown Prince, don't offend big sister. It's just 3 slaps, just bear with it. Otherwise, when grandfather comes back and blames you, I'm afraid you won't even be able to keep your position as the crown prince. Yi Xianxia comforted him on the surface, but in fact she wanted to provoke him. Dongfeng Jiaming was so angry that his eyes were red, and his chest was heaving violently. He couldn't wait to tear Yi Jioge into pieces. But Yi Jioge's grandfather, Yun Tianwei, was not only the #1 spirit pill master of Thunder Nation, but also the hero who resisted the demon race invasion 100 years ago. He was a famous figure in the entire Kanglan continent. Although he had been missing for more than 10 years, his prestige was still there. If he killed Yi Jioge in public, he would definitely be punished by his father. Yi Jioge, for the sake of Grandmaster Yun, this empress will spare your life this time. You better behave yourself in the future. Dongfeng Jiaming finally suppressed his anger and turned to the carriage. Yi Xianxia hurriedly followed, and before leaving she glanced at Yi Jioge with an indescribable viciousness. Yi Jioge sneered back. She couldn't stand it, the show had just begun. Yi Jioge shuttled through the alley according to his memory, and finally saw the familiar gate of Yi clan. At this time there was a pretty maid standing at the door who seemed to be her maid Hong Lu. As soon as Hong Lu saw her, she screamed, "Eldest miss, where did you go last night? Why are you only back now? Heavens! Why are your clothes torn like this, and why is there blood underneath? Oh my God! These damned bandits actually dared to insult the Yi family's eldest Mississippi. This servant will definitely tell master and let him seek justice for you." The maid's sharp and exaggerated voice attracted countless onlookers, and many people pointed at Yi Jioge, who was covered in blood. I just heard that Yi Jioge did not hesitate to harm himself to threaten His Highness the Crown Prince and young Miss Yi Xianxia, in order to prevent His Highness the Crown Prince from getting engaged. Tisked, listening to this maid's words, could it be that Yi Jioge's body was taken by an evil person, so he deliberately resorted to injuring himself in order to blame His Highness the Crown Prince? Must be. This woman is really vicious. She lost her innocence and still wants to make His Highness the Crown Prince wear a green hat. Yi Jioge looked at the few hooligans in the crowd and then looked at Hong Lu, who was still crying, and immediately understood. Yi Xianxia must have returned in advance and thought of this trick to deal with her. This trick was quite vicious. After all, she was covered in blood, and it was a fact that she didn't return at night. With Hong Lu's shout, her bad reputation of losing her virginity and harming others would spread throughout Thunder Country, and even her grandfather's reputation would be implicated by her. But to her this trick was really not enough. Yi Jioge raised his hand and fiercely slapped Hong Lu's face. A crisp sound rang out. Hong Lu covered her instantly swollen face and looked at Yi Jioge in disbelief. Chapter 4. Kneel. Yi Jioge's eyes were cold as he flicked his finger. Hong Lu knelt down with a bang. Just as Yi Jioge was about to interrogate Hong Lu, he heard the ruffians hiding in the crowd fanning the flames. Rumor has it that this Yi Jioge is arrogant and despotic. I didn't expect it to be true. She dared to abuse a servant in front of everyone. I wonder how vicious she is in private. That's right, I think. Before the ruffian could finish his words, he felt a pain in his waist and slammed into the Yi clan's door. Yi Jioge kicked each of the ruffians and sent them flying. Hong Lu's eyes widened as she looked at Yi Jioge in fear. Was this still the timid and cowardly young miss from before? After Yi Jiuge finished dealing with the ruffians, he turned to look at Hong Lu and shouted, "Speak, who ordered you to destroy my reputation?" Her gaze was like lightning and her aura was like a blade. She emitted a terrifying aura, as if Rakshasa had descended into the world. Hong Lu was so scared that her entire body trembled and she almost spat out the truth. But thinking of the second Mrs. Methods, she immediately woke up and braced herself to lie to Yi Jiuge. At this time, a strange purple vertical pupil suddenly appeared in Yi Jiuge's pitch-black pupils. It emitted a faint light, like a demon hidden in the dark night. When Hong Lu saw this pair of vertical pupils, her soul was instantly pulled in. Her eyes went straight, her small mouth opened, and she couldn't help but say the truth. It was the second miss who ordered this servant to bring people to falsely accuse you. These ruffians were also invited by her. She said that she wanted to ruin your reputation and make you infamous. Everyone was in an uproar. The mastermind was actually the Yi clan's second Mississippi. The truth was too shocking. Just as everyone was discussing, the Yi clan's door suddenly opened. A group of guards dragged away the ruffians and Hong Lu who were kneeling at the door. Following that, a middle-aged man wearing a blue brocade robe walked out. He was handsome, had a high nose, and had an imposing appearance. He was Yi Jiuge's father, Yi Yuxuan. Seeing his daughter who hadn't returned all night, not only did he not have any excitement or joy, but he pointed at Yi Jiuge and shouted, "You evil creature, you still have the face to come back." Yi Jiuge sneered in her heart. Her good father only wanted to say this after seeing that his daughter had not returned for an entire night and was in such a sorry state. And he didn't come out just now, but when Hong Lu revealed the truth about Yi Xianxia harming people, it was too much of a coincidence. "Hurry up and get in here. Stop embarrassing yourself here." Yi Yuxuan pointed at the small door on the side. That was where the servants of the Yi mansion came in and out. "I don't know how to roll. Father, why don't you demonstrate? For example, how did you roll into my Yun family back then?" Yi Jiuge sneered. Back then Yi Yuxuan had married into the Yun family penniless. His alchemy cultivation had been built up using the Yun family's silver. Even Yi Jiuge's surname was Yun when he was born. Later, when his grandfather went missing, Yi Yuxuan took the opportunity to trick his mother into changing the name of the Yun residence to the Yi residence. He even made her change her surname. But no matter what, it couldn't change the fact that everything about Yi Yuxuan belonged to the Yun family. And she was the only direct descendant of the Yun family. "You shameless thing, I don't know what kind of wild man you hooked up with after going out for a night. You actually want to come back and seize my family property." Yi Yuxuan's face was ashen. His eyes were fierce as if he wanted to swallow Yi Jiuge alive. In his life he hated people mentioning his status as a member of the Yun family. Every time he thought of how lowly he was under Yun Tianwei's feet. "Yi Yuxuan, even if you are my father, you can't slander me like this. You keep saying that I hooked up with a wild man. Why don't you hand over the wild man?" Yi Jiuge's beautiful eyes emitted a threatening light. She was dressed in blood like a phoenix bathed in fire. The aura bursting out of her body made people's hearts palpitate. Yi Yuxuan was speechless by Yi Jiuge's question. He was just casually falsely accusing her. How could he find a wild man? But even so, he wouldn't allow this rebellious girl to contradict him. Yi Yuxuan pointed at Yi Jiuge and was about to continue cursing, but she interrupted him. Yi Jiuge, do things in an open and above-board manner, unlike your good daughter Yi Xianxia. In order to marry Dongfang Jiaming, she actually stabbed me in the back and pushed me into the abyss. What nonsense are you spouting? The 10,000 zhang abyss is 10,000 zhang deep. Even a goshawk can't fly out from there. How could you possibly climb out from there? You rebellious daughter, your mouth is full of nonsense. You're falsely accusing your younger sister and contradicting your elders. You're simply disloyal, unfilial, and unjust. Men, bring out the clan's rules. Yi Yuxuan didn't believe Yi Jiuge's nonsense. He only had one thought in his mind, and that was to teach this rebellious girl a lesson. Let's see if she still dares to be so impudent. Yi Xianxia had already guessed that her father would punish Yi Jiuge. When she heard this, she immediately handed over the horsewhip. The whip was woven from fine cowhide and there were even tiny barbs on it. Even a strong man would not be able to withstand this whip, let alone a woman. Yi Yuxuan only wanted to scare Yi Jiuge and had no intention of making a move. When Yi Xianxia saw that her father was holding the horsewhip without moving, she pulled on his sleeve and begged, "Father, please don't hit big sister." Otherwise, when grandfather returns, the one who will be beaten will be you. Xianxian's words completely ignited Yi Yuxuan's anger. His eyes turned red. In his eyes, Yi Jiuge had become as hateful as Yun Tianwei. You evil creature, I'll let you know who's in charge of the Yi family today. Yi Yuxuan raised his horsewhip without hesitation and was about to lash it at Yi Jiuge. Father, you must not be impulsive. Yi Xianxian's eyes were filled with tears as she pretended to stop him. Her deep sisterly appearance was moving. However, she secretly looked at Yi Jiuge with eyes filled with pride. Yi Jiuge, this is the result of fighting with me. Yi Jiuge's eyes flashed with coldness. With lightning speed he pulled Yi Xianxian over and kicked her to kneel in front of him. Yi Yuxuan's whip just happened to fall. There was a smacking sound. The horsewhip ruthlessly lashed at Yi Xianxian's body. The barbs on it tore through her clothes with a crash, revealing her white and tender shoulders. The bloodstains with a sadistic beauty made the eyes of the onlookers widen. Yi Jiuge clapped his hands and praised, "Father is indeed wise. A disloyal, unfilial and unjust person like Yi Xianxian should be punished in public." Yi Xianxian did not expect that the whip would fall on her body. She looked at Yi Jiuge in disbelief. This damned slut actually dared to treat her like this. Wow, so white. At this moment, someone in the crowd suddenly said with a lecherous expression. Yi Xianxian could no longer stand the surrounding people's gazes. She pulled up her clothes and cried, covering her face as she ran inside the door. Yi Yuxuan did not pay attention to the humiliated Yi Xianxian. His eyes widened as he looked at Yi Jiuge as if he had seen a ghost. "You, how can you use spiritual power?" Chapter 5. Yi Yuxuan was very sure that his daughter was poisoned and all her meridians were dead. She would never be able to cultivate in this lifetime. However, when she pulled Yi Xianxian over to replace her, it was so fast that even he couldn't see it clearly. How could someone with such cultivation be trash? Father, didn't I just say it? I didn't die after being pushed into the abyss by Yi Xianxian. Instead, I obtained a top-grade pill that can cleanse the marrow and cleanse the meridians. Yi Jiuge paused for a moment. He revealed a meaningful smile. Father, guess who left this pill for me? Although Yi Jiuge didn't say it clearly, everyone knew that the only person who could leave a pill at the bottom of the abyss and foresee her tribulation could only be her grandfather, Yun Tianwei. Yun Tianwei was a legendary figure. There was nothing wrong with pushing the impossible onto him. This way it could explain the huge change in her personality and the huge increase in her cultivation. Everyone was in an uproar again. They didn't expect that Master Yun, who was rumored to have died outside, was still alive. This was definitely explosive news. Yi Yuxuan's eyes widened. He didn't believe that Yun Tianwei was still alive. After all, in short, Yun Tianwei couldn't still be alive. Yi Jiuge, this damned girl must be lying to him. However, that pill might be real. Maybe she obtained other treasures in the abyss. A trace of greed flashed in Yi Yuxuan's eyes. He immediately changed his expression. "Jiuge, I didn't expect you to have such fortune. You are truly worthy of being father's good daughter. Look at your bloody clothes, your body must be in pain. Quickly go inside. Father will find a female spirit doctor to take a look at you." His loving and distressed expression made it seem as if he wasn't the one who whipped her. Yi Jiuge's eyes darkened. Yi Yuxuan's expression clearly showed that his grandfather was dead. Could it be that he knew something? It seemed like he didn't have to shed all pretense of cordiality with Yi Yuxuan. Yi Jiuge followed the steps Yi Yuxuan gave her and walked towards the Yi mansion while saying, "There's no need for a spirit doctor. Father only needs to help me seek justice and punish Yi Xianxian." Yi Yuxuan's face immediately froze. The spirit energy in the Kanglan continent was red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue and purple. Yi Xianxian had the rare blue aptitude, and she had already stepped into the threshold of a spirit alchemist at such a young age. Now that she had also hugged the crown prince's thigh, how could he possibly punish her? He immediately changed the topic. Yi Jiuge also knew that Yi Yuxuan wouldn't punish Yi Xianxian, so he wasn't disappointed. In any case, there was still a long way to go. She would not let any of the people who harmed her off. Yi Jiuge returned to his courtyard. He discovered that the courtyard was empty. There was not a single servant around. Her whole body was sticky and she was tired and sleepy. She was too lazy to look for it, so she boiled water and filled the bathtub. Then she took off her bloody clothes and began to take a bath. But as Yi Jiuge lay in the bath, He was shocked to discover that there was suddenly an additional purple mark on his fair wrist. The pattern was exactly the same as the totem on Xianxia's horn. The mysterious mark was uneven to the touch, as if it was carved into her flesh. Yijioga frowned, his fingernails exerted force, wanting to dig out the imprint. Unexpectedly, the mark suddenly emitted a purple light and fell into the bath. Then a beautiful man with a human body and a snake tail suddenly appeared in front of her. There was a 7-inch-long purple horn in the middle of his head, reflecting a mysterious light. There was a pair of cold purple vertical pupils on his handsome face, and his silver hair that was like the moonlight draped behind him. He had strong chest muscles, a thin waist, sexy mermaid lines, and jade-like skin covered with strange purple and black demon marks. Below his waist was a slender snake tail that seemed to be made of obsidian. Beautiful, powerful, terrifying. Even the demon emperor's descent was nothing more than this. Little Jyoga, why did you summon this sovereign? Zishang's purple vertical pupils emitted an enchanting light, and the corner of his mouth hung a lazy smile. Why are you here? Yijioga's entire body tensed up, and she vigilantly looked at Zishang, who had changed into a living person. Little Jyoga, is this how you treat your savior? You really make this sovereign sad. Zishang swung his tail and wrapped Yijioga in his embrace. His white and somewhat transparent skin was as smooth as silk, and his warm embrace locked her tightly in his embrace. It was like a cage, unable to break free. Let go of me. Yijioga struggled. She hated this feeling of being controlled. Be good, don't move. Do you like the power that this sovereign gave you? Zishang whispered into Yijioga's ear and asked ambiguously. So it was your doing. Yijioga's body froze. She was curious. This body's meridians were clearly severed. How could it still have such a strong power? This sovereign can also help you become stronger. Zishang's red lips revealed a demonic smile, and the red forked tongue was faintly discernible. His voice was deep and enchanting, and it carried an indescribable sense of sexiness. It was like a bewitching demon, coaxing you to hand over your soul at any time. No need. If you want my body, then take it now. Yijioga's face was expressionless, and her eyes were calm as she said. She did not forget what she said. As long as he could save her, she would give him anything. Tiggy, your little expression is so cute. This sovereign likes it. Zishang stuck out his bright red tongue and touched the black scar on Yijioga's face and said with a deep laugh, But you misunderstood. This sovereign does not want your body. At least not now. Then what do you want? Yijioga stared at Zishang's handsome face, which was very close to her. Such a beautiful and powerful male demon could not have anything he wanted. Why did he have to pester her, a useless and ugly girl? I just want a little bit of your blood. This is nothing to you. Zishang pulled Yijioga's index finger and used his sharp teeth to gently bite the skin, and after licking the blood that seeped out, he narrowed his purple eyes and revealed an expression of enjoyment, as if he had eaten the most delicious thing in the world. That's it? Yijioga frowned. A drop of blood was enough to satisfy this fierce beast. Did he think she was a 3-year-old child? Of course, you have the obligation to make your blood more delicious. The taste is still a bit lacking. Zishang shook his head regretfully and lowered his head to lick Yijioga's tender red lips, but was blocked by her palm. Speak properly, don't move your tongue. Alright, in fact, the poison in your body is called 9-stage bone shatter. Every time the poison acts up, the meridians in your body will feel as if they are broken, but if you can get rid of it completely, it can instead cleanse your marrow and meridians, changing your physique. Zishang raised his jade-like finger, and a purple ball of light flew towards Yijioga's forehead. Yijioga's soul shook, and a cultivation technique, Art of Wanxiang, appeared in her mind. This cultivation technique included alchemy, refining, body refining, and other contents, and it could repair her meridians and get rid of the poison in her body. How is it this sovereign is good to you? Zishang whispered in Yijioga's ear. His low and charming voice was like a lover's whisper. Chapter 6. Yijioga's small jade-like earlobes were immediately flushed by his hot breath, like a red plum blooming in the snow. Zishang's eyes darkened and he couldn't help but take another sip. Yijioga had goosebumps. She pushed Zishang's head away and said coldly, Tell me, what do you want? Otherwise, I won't practice this technique. Although the technique was good, she was afraid that she couldn't pay the price. Moreover, Zishang didn't look like a good person. It was already strange that he saved her before, and now he wanted to help her become stronger. She wouldn't believe that he didn't have any ulterior motives. You will die if you don't practice it. Zhang smiled lazily. He looked like he didn't care if she wanted to practice it or not, and he even scratched her waist with the tip of his thin tail. Okay, I'll practice it. Yijioga gritted her teeth and slapped away Zhang's coquettish tail. She knew her body well. On the surface, her injuries seemed to have healed, but the inside of her body was riddled with holes and she could die at any time. Her grandfather was her closest family member. She couldn't die before finding out his whereabouts. Good child, in order to reward you, I've decided to give you something good. Zhang's eyes were gentle, and the corners of his mouth bloomed into a beautiful smile. What is it? Yijioga was still looking forward to it, but she saw Zhang's slender fingers hook, and the purple thunderwood flew in front of her. It's mine to begin with. Yijioga took the purple thunderwood, glared at Zhang and said angrily, also my name is Yijioga, not good child. It was enough for her to have a scumbag father, she didn't want to have a demon father. Okay, good child. Zhang smiled evilly, and when Yijioga was about to explode he comforted her in time. Don't you feel that you have a special connection with this purple thunderwood? It seemed like there was. Yijioga's attention was immediately diverted. When she took the purple thunderwood from Dongfang Jiaming, there was indeed a mysterious spiritual power that drilled into her palm. Those stupid humans, they actually treated the sacred tree heart as an ordinary purple thunderwood. They didn't understand its true mystery. Zhang moved his finger, and the purple piece of wood actually turned into an illusion of a ball of black flames, and it burned quietly in his pure white palm. Although this illusion did not have any heat, it contained a terrifying power as if it could burn everything. The heart of the divine wood tree. Fire is born from the heart. Not only can the heart of the divine wood tree predict the most suitable flame for you, it will also plant an opportunity in your body. In the future, when you encounter that flame, you will be able to sense it. Zhang handed Yijioga the divine wood tree core that had returned to its original purple state. Let's see what kind of fire you have. Yijioga took the piece of purple wood. With a bang, the piece of wood turned into a small red flame. Like a blooming red lotus, each petal flashed with faint purple lightning. Red lotus fire? Wait, why is it carrying lightning? It's the red lotus thunder fire. Zhang could not help but laugh. As expected of the goddess, even the flame she was born with was different. However, the red lotus lightning fire was a sacred fire. She didn't know when she would have the opportunity to find it. The purple deceased divine spear pointed at the flame, and the lotus flame quickly shrank into a 7-inch red needle with lightning flashing in it. Yijioga was immediately attracted by this thunderfire needle. Her needle technique had reached the pinnacle. Could be said that she could revive the dead and grow bones. Now that this thunderfire needle was connected to her mind, she could display her medical skills to the extreme. Yijioga pierced the thunderfire needle into her body and directly meditated in the bath to cultivate the 10,000 elephant art. Zhang sighed and shook his head. This girl was really born with good fortune. Originally, to cure the first layer of the 9-stage broken bones poison, she needed to collect 7 kinds of spirit herbs. Unexpectedly, Yijioga condensed the divine wood tree core into a thunderfire needle that could repel evil and poison, directly curing the first layer of poison. She was truly worthy of being the daughter of the divine blood, the destined person. Since that was the case, he would help her again. Zhang's jade-like palm pressed on Yijioga's thin and naked back, helping her to speed up the circulation of her technique. Drops of black water seeped out from her pores, dyeing the water in the bath black. The Tsanglan continent's spirit practitioners could only enter the spirit practitioner realm after passing through the most difficult body refinement rank 9. After spirit practitioner was spirit master, great spirit master and spirit king. Each stage was further divided into 3 stages: intermediate, intermediate and high. Each advancement was incomparably difficult. However, with the help of the purple deceased sword, Yijioga broke through from the 1st rank to the 9th rank, directly entering the rudimentary spiritualist realm. This speed was simply astounding. Seeing that Yijioga's realm had stabilized, Zhang's figure turned into a purple light and returned to the contract mark on her wrist. When Yijioga opened his eyes again, he found that Zhang had disappeared. She looked down and saw a thumb-sized purple spirit core in her dantian. However, there were 9 types of abnormally colored poisons surrounding the spirit core, spreading throughout the meridians. They were the 9 bone shatter. Yijioga tried to use the thunderfire needle to get rid of it, but it bounced back. Her current cultivation was not high enough, so she could only get rid of it in the future. Yijioga stood up and felt a chill on his body. He looked down. Faster, thief. She actually tangled with Zishang for a long time while naked. Damned perverted snake, no wonder he ran so fast, so he took advantage of me. Little Jyoga, you really wronged me. With your small body, it's more like you took advantage of me. Zishang's lazy voice sounded in Yijioga's mind. Where are you? Why can you read my mind? Yijioga was shocked. She immediately looked around, but there was nothing. I am inside your body, so of course I can read your mind. Zishang laughed in a low voice. The phrase inside your body was like a feather brushing the tip of Yijioga's heart, causing her to tremble uncontrollably. You like my voice? Zishang grasped Yijioga's weakness and smiled even more charmingly. How could Yijioga admit it? Her face turned red. She stared at the purple mark on her wrist and fiercely said, I don't care what kind of witchcraft you used to hide here, but you're not allowed to read my mind. Otherwise, I'll dig out this mark and throw it into the latrine. She could tolerate him looking at her body, but she could not allow her mind to be exposed in front of him. Fine. Zishang very simply said yes, then went silent. This snake demon suddenly became so tactful, Yijioga was a bit not used to it. She put on her clothes, sat in front of the bronze mirror and carefully looked at herself. The girl in the mirror had a pair of extremely cold eyes, like a bottomless pool. Although her facial features were delicate, her face was covered with black scars, like burnt toad skin, extremely ugly. Yijioga raised her hand to touch the black scars on her face. The poisonous gas had been in her body for too long, it had already damaged the base of her skin. She needed to make some medicine to get rid of it. She remembered there was a medicine called jade ointment that could get rid of black scars. It's just that the spirit grass used to make the jade ointment was very precious and hard to get. If you beg me, I can help you even without the jade pill. Zishang's beautiful voice sounded in Yijioga's mind again. You're reading my mind again. The vein on Yijioga's forehead twitched. She really wanted to kill the snake. Unfortunately, I don't have a master and you can't kill me. Zishang's low voice was very annoying. Can't you understand human language? I already told you not to read my mind. I'm a demon. Whether or not he could understand it depends on his mood. Yijioga had never seen such a shameless demon before. Just as she was about to use the needle to pierce the snake's skin, a panicked voice came from outside the door. Big miss, it's bad. Chapter 7. What's going on? Yijioga went out and saw the courtyard's watering maid Zhu crying with an ashen face. Mother Qing was falsely accused by Mother Zhang of stealing and was tied up in the woodshed and almost beaten to death. Yijioga's pupils shrank as he quickly turned and rushed towards the woodshed. From afar he could hear screams coming from the woodshed. When he went in to take a look, Mother Qing was tied to a pillar. Her face was pale, her body was badly mutilated, and her tattered clothes were soaked in blood. A sturdy maid was holding a black whip soaked in salt water and was fiercely lashing at Mother Qing. Yijioga's figure flashed as she grabbed the falling whip and fiercely lashed at the maid's body. Under her anger, she used 80% of her strength and left a bloody mark on the maid's body. Ah! The maid screamed. Seeing that it was Yijioga, she immediately roared in anger. You dare to hit me? I'm hitting you. Yijioga's face flashed with cold killing intent. Whip after whip, she rolled on the ground and desperately begged for mercy. Zhu took the opportunity to untie Mother Qing from the pillar. Eldest miss, don't hit anymore. If you continue, someone will die. Mother Qing looked at the bloodthirsty eldest miss and actually did not dare to step forward. For Mother Qing's sake, I'll spare your dog life. Yijioga threw the blood-stained whip at the maid's face. The maid immediately ran away with one breath. Eldest miss, what happened? Why do you seem to have changed? Yijioga's gaze darkened as he repeated the story of being pushed into the abyss by Xianxia to obtain the pill left behind by his grandfather. Finally he said, Mother Qing, the previously cowardly Yijioga has already died in the abyss. I climbed up from hell to make them pay with blood. Wu, it's all this old servant's fault for being useless. Mother Qing cried out and fainted. Yijioga hurriedly brought Mother Qing back to Flying Rainbow Yuan to apply medicine. After taking her pulse, he found out that she was poisoned. No wonder Mother Qing was originally at the 9th rank of body refinement and was about to enter the spirit practitioner realm. But after her mother passed away, she suddenly got a strange disease and lost her cultivation. It turned out that she was poisoned. This poison was not difficult to detoxify. Compared to her 9-layered bone shatter, it was simply a piece of cake. Ijoga took out the thunder and fire needles. His hand moved like a shadow and every needle was in place. He quickly opened up Mother Qing's blocked meridians and apertures. Mother Qing woke up from the pain and opened her mouth to spit out a mouthful of stinky black blood. She was shocked to find that the depression in her chest had disappeared, and the spiritual power that had been silent for a long time began to circulate smoothly. "Eldest Miss, Mother Qing's eyes widened and she was just about to ask. There was a loud bang. The main gate of the courtyard was kicked away and smashed into the window, splinters flying everywhere. Ijoga looked through the hole in the window and saw a mother with a long, thin face and a mean look coming in aggressively with a group of sturdy old maids with body-refining cultivation base. Yes, it's Mother Zhang. She must have come to seek revenge on us. Zhenzhu trembled in fear. Mama Zhang was Madame Su Yufeng's concubine and was at the 8th rank of refining body. She was arrogant and fierce and no one dared to provoke her. This miss still hasn't found them to settle accounts, but they have already delivered themselves to the door. Ijoga sneered, got up and walked out. Eldest Miss, Mother Qing stole Madame's property. We are currently interrogating her, but you brought her back and injured Lun Yangzi. Do you not have the family law in your eyes? Mother Zhang pointed at Ijoga and scolded. She looked like she was the master. Family law? This miss is the family law. Ijoga stretched out his finger and sealed Mother Zhang's spiritual power meridians, and raised his hand to slap her face. You dog that relies on your master's power, this slap is to teach you the rules. With that he slapped her again. This slap is to teach you how to recognize people. Another slap. This slap is to teach you that you are not pleasing to the eye, so this slap is to reward you. Mother Zhang was stunned by these 3 slaps. She stared at Ijoga in disbelief and roared, "You dare to hit me?" Slap. Another slap. Are you satisfied with this answer? Ijoga raised his eyebrows and smiled. Mother Zhang was so angry that she trembled. When she tried to raise her qi, she found that she could not circulate her spiritual power, so she turned around and roared at the old maids behind her. What are you waiting for? Go. Who dares to touch me? Ijoga shouted, shocking everyone. Thunder Country's law. Those who offend their superiors will be exiled for thousands of miles. If you are not afraid of death, just come. Ijoga's eyes swept over, and the group of old maids could not help but shiver and quietly retreated. Mother Zhang was so angry that her teeth were about to break. She pointed at Ijoga and scolded, "Well, you are ruthless. There will be a time when you will look good." With that, she turned around and wanted to go back to get help. "Wanna leave?" "Not so easy." Ijoga kicked her in the knee, then turned around and said to Zhenzhu, "Get a rope. Mother Zhang stole my things. This miss will personally tie her up and bring her to the torture room for interrogation." "Nonsense, I did not steal anything." Mother Zhang struggled desperately, but she was tied up like a rice dumpling by Ijoga and dragged all the way from Flying Rainbow Court to the torture room. The servants passing by were all shocked, thinking that they were seeing things in broad daylight. Mother Zhang, the most dignified person in the mansion, was actually being dragged like a dog by this waste Mississippi. "I am being wronged. Miss is abusing torture, accusing me of stealing things." Mother Zhang howled all the way and everyone in the backyard could hear her. "You did not steal anything, then what is this?" Ijoga dragged Mother Zhang to the door of the torture room, and in front of everyone he took out the purple thunder wood from Mother Zhang's clothes and said heavily, "You are caught red-handed, what else do you have to say?" "I did not, you are falsely accusing me." Mother Zhang's old eyes widened, she had never seen this piece of wood before. "You still dare to be stubborn. Old maid gone, tie her up and give her a good beating. This miss wants to see who ordered her to steal things." Ijoga looked at old maid gone who was in charge of the torture room. "Miss, Mother Zhang is Madame's person, it is not good for you to abuse her." Mother Gone said awkwardly. "Mother Qing is one of my people, you are using torture to your heart's content. Could it be that in your eyes, Madame is the master and I, this miss, is nothing?" Ijoga raised his eyebrows, the light in his eyes was so sharp that it could pierce holes in people. How could old maid Gone dare to respond? She just heard that Miss was showing off her power at the door. Even the master had to give in. No one could afford to offend the current Mississippi. Very good. It seems that you do not understand human words. Ijoga slowly walked to the rack with the torture tools, took the thickest whip and gestured at old maid Gone. Do you need this, miss, to say it again? No need, no need, this old servant understands. Old maid Gone was so scared that her scalp went numb. She quickly brought people to tie Mother Zhang to a pillar, and said in a low voice, "Sorry for offending you." With that she took a soft and hard whip and loudly lashed it at Mother Zhang. She had been in charge of the torture room for many years, so she was very familiar with this whip. Although the whip was loud, it did not feel any pain when it landed on the body. Old maid Gone, did you not eat? Ijoga slightly raised his eyebrows and said coldly, "If you did not eat now, you do not need to eat in the future." Chapter 8. Old maid Gone was scared witless by Ijoga and didn't dare to go easy on Mother Zhang anymore. Mother Zhang's meridians were sealed by Ijoga. Without the protection of spiritual power, she was no different from a mortal. She screamed miserably from the whip. After 100 lashes, she was covered in blood and on the verge of death. "Speak, who ordered you to steal my purple thunder wood?" Ijoga indifferently looked at Mother Zhang, who was covered in blood. This injury was nothing compared to the pain Mother Qing had suffered in the past. Mother Zhang looked at Ijoga with hatred. Her mouth moved, but she couldn't say anything. Ijoga slowly walked forward and bent down, pretending to listen to Mother Zhang's words. Then he said in shock, "What did you say?" "Second Miss asked you to steal the purple thunder wood to give to the crown prince as a token of love?" Mother Zhang's eyes widened. She wanted to explain but couldn't say anything. "Since you were ordered by someone, then this miss will spare your life." Ijoga showed a magnanimous expression and personally untied the rope on Mother Zhang. Mrs. Zhang was so angry that her whole body trembled. She couldn't take it anymore and fainted. Ijoga let old maid Gone send Mother Zhang back to Madame's courtyard and then walked towards his own purple forest park. Mother Qing had already let the carpentry workers move the broken door away and replaced it with a new one. The brand new redwood door shined with a faint luster under the sunlight. It was a world of difference compared to the previous rotten wooden door. Sure enough, good people get bullied and good horses get ridden. Eldest Mrs. Two Lashes today have established the reputation of our courtyard. Mother Qing sighed with emotion. If it was in the past when the carpentry workers heard that it was a matter of Purple Forest Park, they would make excuses and even mock you for being troublesome. Now when the carpentry workers heard that the door of Purple Forest Park was going to be repaired, not only did they personally bring people to repair it, they also brought the best door in the warehouse. The servants of the flower house also came over to tidy up the courtyard that had been abandoned for a long time. All the withered flowers and plants were removed and replaced with fresh flowers that were in season. The furniture in the house was also brand new. The entire courtyard was clean and tidy like never before. Eldest Miss is the best. Zhenzhu giggled. She was right to secretly come back to deliver the letter. Eldest young Miss had already promoted her to a first-class personal maidservant. To her, it was like flying up a branch and transforming into a phoenix. Hong Lu, who used to be arrogant and haughty, was now going to be tied up and sold. "Eldest Miss, you are back. Are you tired? The kitchen is boiling the white fungus and lotus seed soup. This old servant will bring you a bowl now." When Mother Qing saw Ijoga come back, she immediately greeted her. Although the eldest Mrs. Majestic appearance was very good, she was still too vicious. She needed to eat some tremella. "Mother Qing, don't be anxious." Ijoga pulled Mother Qing, looked her up and down and asked with concern, "How do you feel now?" "This old servant has never felt so good." Mother Qing revealed a confident smile. She now felt that her whole body was full of energy. As long as she cultivated properly, she would be able to pick up her previous cultivation. "It's good." The corner of Ijoga's mouth slightly curled up, revealing a faint smile. She was truly happy for Mama Qing. "It's too hot outside. Young miss, please enter the house to cool down." Mother Qing quickly let Ijoga enter the house. Zhenzhu hurriedly went to the kitchen to bring the white fungus and lotus seed soup and helped Ijoga drink it. "Eldest Miss, you must be tired after a busy day. Take a good rest." Mother Qing helped Ijoga make the bed and left with Zhenzhu. Ijoga also felt a little tired. Just when she was about to take a short rest, her heart suddenly had a bad feeling. She raised her wrist and looked at it. The mark on it flashed with purple light, and Zhou appeared in front of her. Brutal Jyoga. The moment Zhou appeared, his long snake tail immediately wrapped around Yi Jyoga possessively. I didn't summon you. Why did you come out? Yi Jyoga really didn't want to see him. This sovereign missed you, so I came out to see you. Zhou's rosy mouth hooked up, revealing a bright smile. We separated for less than 10 minutes, okay? Moreover, this demon snake had been hiding in the mark and looking at her. What was there to miss? This sovereign saw you teaching a servant a lesson from inside the mark. This sovereign was really happy and liked it very much. If I didn't come out to see you, I would feel uncomfortable. Zhou hugged Yi Jyoga's waist. His purple eyes narrowed into a line, and his eyes shone with a charming light. Since Lord Zhou likes it so much, do you want me to whip you a few times? I'm very willing to do that. Yi Jyoga squinted her eyes and smiled maliciously. If she whipped this shameless demon snake, she would be even more excited. This gate is a heartless little Jyoga. This sovereign is so good to you, but you still want to whip this sovereign. What a violent maniac. Zhou wasn't angry. Instead, he smiled even more happily, like a summer flower. That's right. This miss is a violent maniac. So you better stay away from me. Yi Jyoga placed her hands on his naked chest and pushed him away. Every time he wants to wrap around me. Is this the nature of a snake? Yi Jyoga was considering whether or not she should buy a wooden stick to carry around. The wooden stick is cold. How can it be as comfortable as you hugging it? Zhou giggled and wrapped around Yi Jyoga even tighter. Can you not get so close? Although Zhou's body was cool and smooth and comfortable, she was still not used to it. If I don't get so close, I won't be able to hear you. Zhou had a wronged expression, as if Yi Jyoga had wronged him. Yi Jyoga suddenly smiled. Her smile was especially gentle. If you can't hear me when I'm so close, what's the use of your ears? Why don't I cut them off for you to wash? Do you think you can cut them off? Zhou laughed fearlessly. That's right. I can't beat you now. But there are so many demon hunters in Thunder Country. If they know of your existence, do you think your ears will be enough for them to cut off? Yi Jyoga especially glanced at Zhou's lower body. Her meaning was self-evident. You dare to threaten this sovereign? Aren't you afraid that this sovereign will take back your spiritual power? Zhou raised his eyebrows. Although his expression was lazy, the majestic aura of a king was like that of a ferocious tiger. If you want to take it back, then take it back. This miss would rather die standing than live kneeling. Yi Jyoga's tone was very calm, but her expression was resolute. Her back was straight like an unsheathed sword. Zhou's heart stirred. No one had ever said such words to him before. The daughter of the divine blood was indeed worthy of being the daughter of the divine blood. His eyes curved, and he returned to his usual mischievous expression. This sovereign was just joking. Why are you so serious? I never joke. If there's nothing else, please leave. Thank you. Yi Jyoga said politely. Who said that this sovereign is fine? Zhou rolled his eyes and laughed. Your little sister is not easy to deal with. Chapter 9. How do you know she's not easy to deal with? Yi Jyoga's face was full of suspicion. Because this sovereign is omnipotent. Zhou winked at Yi Jyoga, his vertical pupils flashing with an enchanting light. And then, speaking halfway, he was afraid of being struck by lightning. And then if you beg this sovereign, not only can this sovereign forgive your rudeness, I can also tell you what they're up to. Zhou's breath smelled like orchids, his voice full of temptation. No matter what you want to know, this sovereign can tell you. I just want to know when you're going to scram. Yi Jyoga rolled his eyes. Actually, she wanted to know a lot of things. For example, why she transmigrated here. Was her grandfather still alive if he was alive where he was now? Also, why did Zhou help her cultivate? What did he want from her? But she knew it was useless to beg. Zhou would not tell her these things. As for what Xianxia was plotting, wouldn't she investigate such a simple matter herself? Yi Jyoga put on his nocturnal clothes and flew out of Purple Forest Park under the cover of the night. At this moment, the ink garden on the other side of the Yi mansion exploded when they saw Mother Zhang being carried back. Mother, Yi Jyoga already stepped on our face. Do we still have to endure him? Xianxia said angrily. Previously, when she was humiliated at the door, she wanted to deal with Yi Jyoga. But her mother insisted that her father treated Yi Jioga like a treasure and told her to endure. But now that Yi Jioga was at the door, if they still didn't do anything, the people in the mansion would think they were afraid of Yi Jioga. If this continued, would there still be a place for them in the Yi mansion? The dignified and noble Su Yufeng put down the teacup in her hand and glanced at the head maid Ji Hua beside her. Ji Hua immediately led all the servants out. How many times have I said, you are the future crown princess, you must be dignified and magnanimous, why are you still so rash? Su Yufeng looked at her daughter, who was so angry that her face was twisted into a ferocious look. How could she not be angry when her precious daughter was humiliated? But the one who whipped her was the master. Could she still find the master for revenge? Plus, the matter of her daughter pushing Yi Jioga into the 10,000 zhang abyss was now known by everyone. At this time she couldn't wait for her daughter to hide, so how could she be in the mood to deal with Yi Jioga? After the crown prince was humiliated by Yi Jioga, he vented his anger on me. He didn't even send me a letter for a few days. How can I be the crown prince's concubine? Yi Xianxian's eyes were red and tears were about to fall. In the past few days she had sent someone to send a message to the crown prince wanting to meet him. However, the crown prince had always said that he was very busy and did not have the slightest bit of enthusiasm from before. She was almost worried to death. What's going on? Why would the crown prince vent his anger on you? Su Yufeng couldn't sit still when she heard the news. In order to let her daughter ascend to the throne of the crown prince's consort, she had racked her brains and would not allow the cooked crown prince to fly away. Isn't it all because of that slut Yi Jioga? Mother, please help me kill her and then bring the purple thunderwood over. Then brother crown prince will return to my side. Yi Xianxian pulled Su Yufeng's sleeve and pleaded. She knew that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince wanted the purple thunderwood. As long as she sent it over, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince would definitely look at her in a new light. Su Yufeng's expression changed again and again. To be honest, Yi Jioga humiliated her daughter and beat her confidant. She wanted nothing more than to tear Yi Jioga's body into 10,000 pieces. But now Yi Jioga was using Yun Tianwei's tiger skin to act majestically. Even Yi Yuxuan had to curry favor with her. If she brazenly dealt with her, in the end they would still be the ones to suffer. Mother, I know you have a way. Please help your daughter. Yi Xianxian had absolute trust in her mother. Yi Jioga's meridians were destroyed and his face was ruined. It was all secretly done by her mother. In these past years no one had noticed. As long as her mother was willing to help her, Yi Jioga would die without a doubt. I really owe you. Su Yunfeng glared at her daughter. In the end she decided to help her deal with Yi Jioga. I know you love me the most. What do you plan to do? Yi Xianxian's eyes lit up. She even forgot to cry. Don't ask first. You'll know when you and I go see your father. Su Yufeng's eyes were filled with schemes. If she wanted to deal with Yi Jioga, just relying on her mother and daughter was not enough. She had to rely on Yi Yuxuan as the main blade. Yi Xianxian's shoulders shrank. She said, didn't you want your daughter to avoid father during this time? Her father was very angry at her for pushing Yi Jioga into the abyss. She had been hiding. Silly girl, you don't have to be afraid with your mother here. Remember, when you see your father, don't mention Yi Jioga. Just mention the crown prince. After Su Yufeng told Yi Xianxian a few words, she called Ji Hua to wash Yi Xianxian's face. After Yi Xianxian tidied up, she took her to the main courtyard study. When Yi Yuxuan heard that Su Yufeng and her daughter had come over, he put down the medical book in his hand and said, let them in. Your daughter greets father. Yi Xianxian gently bowed. Her voice was as sweet as honey. Yi Yuxuan was still angry in his heart. However, when he saw how beautiful and generous his daughter was, he couldn't bear to anger her anymore. He softly asked, it's so late. Why did you and your mother come here? Recently, the crown prince wrote a letter to your daughter. Your daughter really doesn't know what to do. She can only ask father. Yi Xianxian pretended to be worried and said according to her mother's instructions. What did the crown prince write to you? Yi Yuxuan's heart jumped. During this time the crown prince was obviously dissatisfied with him. He was also a little worried. Father, the crown prince asked your daughter to find a way to get purple thunder wood. Yi Xianxian said carefully. Purple thunder wood? Yi Yuxuan suddenly remembered the farce that happened in the backyard today. He frowned and said unhappily, so, You really asked Mother Zhang to steal purple thunder wood? I didn't. Xianxia was stunned and quickly shook her head. She never asked Mother Zhang to steal Yi Jiuge's purple thunder wood. Yushuan didn't believe her. He angrily scolded, "You can do such a stupid thing. Is your brain eaten by a dog?" This daughter usually looks smart, but she is not reliable at the critical moment. She can even do things like murder her sister. She is so stupid. The stupidest thing is to be known by others. She really has a pig's brain. Father, I really didn't. Xianxia was so anxious that she was about to cry. She quickly looked at her mother for help. Su Yufeng took a step forward and softly said, "Master, Xianxia is indeed reckless, but she did it for our Yi family." Jiuge humiliated the crown prince in public. The crown prince is angry with our Yi family. If it wasn't for Xianxia, I'm afraid there would be a rift between the crown prince and our Yi family. Your daughter is so sensible, but you still blame her. Your heart is too cruel. Chapter 10. As Su Yufeng spoke, tears flowed down her cheeks like pearls from a broken necklace. Although she was already over 30 years old, she had taken good care of herself. Her pitiful cry had the unique charm of a young woman, causing Yi Yushuan's heart to ache. He quickly comforted her. "If you have something to say, then say it properly. What are you crying for? If you feel sorry for us mother and daughter, then I won't have to cry." Su Yufeng's voice was choked with a bit of grievance. Yi Yushuan's heart immediately softened. He patted Su Yufeng's small hand and said, "I know you mother and daughter have been wronged, but you also know that there are rumors everywhere. I can't punish that damned girl Jiuge. We mother and daughter aren't afraid of being wronged, but that child Jiuge's personality suddenly changed. She even dared to offend the crown prince. I'm really afraid that she will cause an even greater disaster in the future and implicate our Yi family." Su Yufeng wiped her tears and said worriedly, "That's right, I'm also worried." Yi Yushuan let out a long sigh. He also wanted to take care of that disobedient and unfilial girl Jiuge and snatch the treasure from her hands. But now that everyone was staring at the Yi mansion, he didn't dare to move. "Master, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it or not." Su Yufeng looked hesitant. "What can't you say?" Yi Yushuan's heart stirred. He lowered his voice and asked, "Do you have a way to deal with Jiuge?" He knew that this wife of his was never easy to deal with. Otherwise he wouldn't have married her. "I do have a way, but I'm worried that after I say it, Master will blame me." Su Yufeng frowned. She was in a difficult position. "We are husband and wife. No matter what you say, I won't blame you." Yi Yushuan comforted. "Master, just listen and see if it's appropriate." Su Yufeng whispered into Yi Yushuan's ear. Yi Yushuan's brows slowly furrowed. He said unhappily, "Do you really have to use them as bait? Only they have some relationship with the young miss. If Master feels that what I said is wrong, then just pretend that I didn't say anything." Su Yufeng was terrified. She lowered her body and was about to kneel down to beg for forgiveness. Yi Yushuan hurriedly pulled her back. "What are you doing, Master?" Su Yufeng raised her head slightly, feeling wronged. There was a trace of uneasiness on her pretty face. Yi Yushuan was silent for a moment. In the end he nodded and said, "All right, I'll do as you say." Then he took out a small jade bottle the size of 3 fingers from a secret cabinet in the study and handed it to Su Yufeng. "Thank you for your trust, Master. Rest assured I will definitely help you with this matter." Su Yufeng showed a gentle and considerate smile, took the jade bottle and left with Yi Xianxia. Yi Xianxia had been silent at the side. After leaving the Jingyuan with her mother, she took her mother's hand and asked in a low voice, "Mother, is what you said true? Did father really give Su Meng to you?" "Silly girl, didn't you see everything?" Su Yufeng waved the jade bottle in front of Yi Xianxia and put it away. "Father actually agreed?" Yi Xianxia was still in disbelief. Such a terrible idea. If it was her, she would not even dare to say it, but her mother actually dared to tell her father and even dragged her to do it. "I'm doing this to help him, why wouldn't he agree?" Su Yufeng sneered. Only by pulling Yi Yushuan into the same boat would she not have to worry about the consequences. "Mother, this move of yours is really amazing." Yi Xianxia looked at her mother in admiration. For the first time she knew that people could be so righteous. "Silly girl, there's still time for you to learn." Su Yufeng smiled and nodded her daughter's head. If it wasn't for the fact that she wanted her daughter to be enlightened, She wouldn't have wanted her daughter to listen to such filthy things. Mother, I will definitely learn from you. Xianxia excitedly pulled her mother's hand. Only now did she realize that the strategy she used before was too shallow. Good. Su Yufeng smiled and patted her daughter's hand. She looked towards the purple forest park where Yi Jioge was and revealed a cold smile. Daughter, the first move I'm going to teach you now is how to kill without spilling blood. Su Yufeng and her daughter thought that their plan was flawless, but they didn't know that their every move had fallen into Yi Jioge's eyes. Your father is really a scumbag. Zishang clicked his tongue in wonder. Human nature was indeed wonderful. He was amazed every time. Yi Jioge's eyes darkened. She knew that Yi Yuxuan was a scumbag, but she didn't expect him to be this scumbag. In order to deal with her, he actually agreed to Su Yufeng's evil plan. Right, what does that bottle of virtual dream have to do with you? Zishang asked. Yi Jioge was silent for a moment, then said indifferently, it's a pill my mother Yun Jiaojiao made for Yi Yuxuan. That year Yi Yuxuan grew a tumor on his back and had to use a knife to cut it off. Yun Jiaojiao couldn't bear to see her husband suffer, so she made virtual dream. After taking it, one would fall into a deep sleep. Even if a knife cut them, they wouldn't feel anything. Without the antidote, they would die in 7 days. Yun Jiaojiao was worried that someone would use virtual dream to do dirty things, so only Yi Yuxuan had this pill. Yi Jioge didn't. However, as Yun Jiaojiao's biological daughter, no one would believe her if she said she didn't have it. That was why Su Yufeng and Yi Yuxuan took it. Then what do you plan to do? Zishang raised his eyebrows. Using the pill made by his ex-wife to harm her daughter, Su Yufeng and Yi Yuxuan were really ruthless. Naturally, I'll give them a taste of their own medicine. Yi Jioge's beautiful red lips curled into a mocking smile. Honestly speaking, Su Yufeng's plan was perfect. She didn't plan to use virtual dream directly on Yi Jioge, but she wanted to use Fifth Aunt and her daughter to deal with Yi Jioge. Fifth Aunt Gu Jingyi was originally a second-rank servant in the residence. Yi Yuxuan forcefully took her after he got drunk and her stomach worked hard, so she got pregnant in one go. It was a happy event for the residents to have a child, so everyone said that she was pregnant with a boy. Yi Yuxuan was happy and made an exception to make her fifth aunt. Unexpectedly, she gave birth to a weak and sickly girl, Yi Rui. The higher she climbed, the harder she fell. She suddenly lost favor and was chased to a remote courtyard. She was even worse than the favored servant in front of Yi Xianxian. When she was a servant, she received kindness from Yi Jioge's mother. She had always been secretly taking care of Yi Jioge, so the two had a good relationship. Yi Jioge also loved the 6-year-old little Rui very much. Su Yufeng wanted to use little Rui to threaten Fifth Aunt to help her deal with Yi Jioge. Fifth Aunt loved her daughter, and in order to protect her daughter, she would definitely agree. Su Yufeng even thought of why Yi Jioge wanted to harm Yi Rui. Because Yi Rui saw Yi Jioge having an affair with another man, she was poisoned to death by Yi Jioge. At that time, with Fifth Aunt as a witness and the special poison of virtual dream, Yi Jioge wouldn't be able to explain himself. At that time, Yi Yuxuan would come out and pressure her to use the purple thunder wood and the treasures obtained in the 10,000 Zhang abyss to clear her name. This plan was closely linked. If Yi Jioge hadn't secretly followed Su Yufeng and her daughter, he would probably have fallen into the trap. But now that she knew, she naturally had to help Su Yufeng in this good show. Chapter 11. When Yi Jioge arrived at Fifth Concubine's courtyard, he heard faint bursts of sorrowful and painful cries coming from inside. Boo-hoo, it's all my fault for not being able to protect you. She looked in through the crack in the window and saw that the fifth concubine was lying on the shabby bed, crying silently and painfully. Little Rui's complexion was deathly pale. Her eyes were tightly shut, and her petite body was covered by a half-worn hibiscus quilt. The atmosphere in the room was gloomy, as if the sky was about to collapse. Just as Yi Jioge was about to push the door open and enter, he heard Zishang exclaim softly. "What's wrong?" Yi Jioge asked curiously. "Your little sister is quite interesting." Zishang didn't finish his sentence. It was obvious that he wanted Yi Jioge to beg him. Yi Jioge had long understood his temperament. If it was an urgent matter, Zishang would remind him without her saying anything. If it was an ordinary matter, she would be able to find out even without Zishang's reminder. What kind of attitude is that? Zishang was very dissatisfied with Yi Jioge ignoring him. Yijioga ignored him completely and pushed open the door to enter the house. Who? Fifth concubine heard the movement and quickly turned around. When she saw Yijioga, she was so shocked that her eyes widened. She didn't even know that the handkerchief in her hand had fallen to the ground. Fifth aunt, I heard that fourth sister is not feeling well, so I just happened to pass by, so I came in to take a look. Yijioga came over and sat at the head of the bed. He looked at the drowsy Yirui and asked, "What's wrong with fourth sister? Have you called a doctor?" "Yes." He said that he caught a cold and will be fine after drinking some medicine. The fifth concubine's voice was hoarse and her eyes were flustered. She didn't know what to do with her hands and feet. "Fifth mistress, why are you so flustered?" Yijioga raised his eyebrows and pretended to ask curiously. I am worried about fourth young lady's condition and am very flustered." Fifth concubine lowered her eyelids and did not dare to look at Yijioga. "It's fine. My medical skills have improved a lot recently. I can take a look at fifth younger sister." After Yijioga said that, he reached out his hand to feel Yirui's pulse. Yirui's wrist was very thin and small. Her pulse was weak and her chi was insufficient. It was a sign of a weak body. It was no different from the previous doctor's diagnoses. However, Zishang's words just now definitely had a deeper meaning. She guessed that little Rui's problem was not something that could be detected by ordinary pulse sensing. "Fifth concubine, I see that fourth younger sister is sweating all over. She must be feeling very uncomfortable. Go and boil some hot water to wipe her body." Yijioga turned his head and instructed. "Okay." Fifth concubine nodded quickly and went out. Yijioga took out the purple lightning wood and injected his spiritual energy into it, turning it into a lightning fire needle. Then he accurately pierced it into Yirui's forehead. The originally dim thunder fire needle suddenly flashed with a dazzling green and red light. Yijioga's pupils constricted. He never thought that this unremarkable little sister would have such good fortune. Su Yufeng shouldn't know about little Rui's good fortune. Otherwise she wouldn't have been able to grow until now. Yijioga revealed a meaningful smile. Originally, after she took away Su Meng, she wanted to get fifth concubine and her daughter out, but she did not expect to find such a shocking thing. This matter could completely slap Su Yufeng's face swollen. However, it still depended on whether fifth concubine was worthy of her trust or not to announce little Rui's good fortune. At this time, fifth concubine was also in a dilemma. Although she didn't want to deal with Yijioga, she was afraid that Madame would kill her and her daughter. When she thought of the sad and scared place, she couldn't stop her tears. In fact, she also knew that even if she helped Madame to falsely accuse Yijioga, she couldn't escape death. Since that was the case, she might as well give it a try. She heard that eldest Mrs. Temperament changed greatly after coming up from the 10,000 zhang abyss. Even Su Yufeng didn't dare to provoke them. Perhaps eldest Miss could save their lives. Fifth concubine made up her mind. She didn't even bother to extinguish the firewood and quickly entered the room. She knelt in front of Yijioga and cried, "Eldest Miss, please save fourth Miss." As she said this, she told Yijioga about how Su Yufeng brought people to force poison on her daughter and how she threatened to falsely accuse Yijioga. "Tell me, aren't you afraid that Madame will harm you?" Yijioga raised his eyebrows and wanted to test fifth concubine's determination again. "Asking a tiger for its skin, I will die sooner or later. It's better to give it a try." A determined expression flashed across fifth concubine's delicate face. A mother was tough. For her daughter, even the most cowardly rabbit would become a fierce beast. Yijioga smiled with satisfaction and said, "Fifth concubine, don't worry. Fourth sister was just poisoned by Xianxia." "How is that possible?" Fifth concubine didn't believe that Su Yufeng was so kind as to use Xianxia as poison to deceive her. Yijioga said, "Don't you believe my words?" Fifth concubine looked at Yijioga's calm expression. She suddenly came here late at night and understood everything. She kowtowed loudly, "Thank you, eldest Mississippi. Thank you, eldest Mississippi. Fifth concubine, you don't have to be so polite." Yijioga reached out to help her up and said, "Your good fortune is yet to come. This servant doesn't ask for any good fortune. As long as fourth Miss can live a safe and stable life, that's enough." Fifth concubine wiped her tears. It was all her fault for giving birth to such a weak child. This good fortune is not up to you to refuse. You still don't know, in fact, fourth sister. Yi Zhouge lowered his voice and told fifth concubine about the good fortune he had just discovered. Fifth concubine suddenly opened her eyes wide and looked at Yi Zhouge in disbelief. She said with a trembling voice, "This is true. You are not lying to me?" "Can I lie about this kind of thing?" Yi Zhouge said with a smile. "Sob, sob, sob. I know that God has eyes and won't let us mother and daughter be humiliated for a lifetime." Fifth concubine didn't know whether to cry or laugh. He seemed to have gone crazy. Yi Zhouge understood her feelings of flying from the abyss of despair to the western paradise, so he quietly waited for her to vent her emotions. After fifth concubine calmed down, she realized that she had lost her composure. She said embarrassedly, "I've let eldest miss see a joke." "It's okay." Yi Zhouge waved his hand and said, "It's just that fourth sister has such a good fortune. I'm afraid that Su Yufeng won't let her go. If fifth concubine wants to protect fourth sister, you must do as I say. Eldest miss, please instruct me. Even if you ask me to climb a mountain of knives or go down a volcano, I'm not afraid." Fifth concubine said excitedly. "Tomorrow you will do this." Yi Zhouge lowered his voice and explained his plan. Finally he said, "As long as you do as I say, I promise that no one will dare to bully you mother and daughter in the Yi residence. Eldest miss, rest assured. I will definitely do as you say." Fifth concubine's eyes flashed with fierceness. In the past she had no way to go against Su Yufeng and could only endure humiliation to survive. But after she stood up, she would definitely return the pain that her daughter had suffered to Su Yufeng and her mother 1,000 times more. Chapter 12. Yi Zhouge was quite satisfied with Fifth Yinyang's fierce attitude. It wasn't enough for her to deal with Yi Yuxuan and Su Yufeng alone. She needed more helpers. Fifth Yinyang and fourth younger sister were just the beginning. In the future, Su Yufeng and Yi Xianxia would cry. In the ink water garden, Su Yufeng held a blue and white porcelain cup and was slowly sipping tea. Yi Xianxia sat beside her and couldn't wait to ask Ji Hua, "Is everything arranged?" Replying to second miss, "This servant has already arranged everything. Tomorrow morning, someone will personally watch Fifth Yinyang invite eldest Mississippi," Ji Hua respectfully replied. "That's good." Yi Xianxia nodded with satisfaction and then smiled at Su Yufeng. "I used to wonder why you kept fifth Yinyang and fourth younger sister. Turns out that it was to deal with Yi Zhouge." "That's right. Being betrayed by someone you trust is the most painful feeling." Su Yufeng smiled. In fact, the chess piece she wanted the most was Mother Qing. Unfortunately, Mother Qing was too stubborn and had no children. It wasn't easy to grab hold of her weakness. She could only settle for fifth Yinyang. "Mother, you're really amazing." Yi Xianxia looked at her mother with admiration. She couldn't walk one step and see 3 steps ahead. "That's amazing." Su Yufeng smiled and then asked Ji Hua, "Have you found the person I asked you to find?" Replying to Madam, "This servant has already found him. He lives near the 10,000 feet abyss and is now in the Tongfu Inn." Ji Hua replied, "Very good. You can leave." Su Yufeng put down the teacup. Ji Hua bowed and retreated. "Mother, why are you looking for a woodcutter?" Yi Xianxia asked in surprise. "Silly girl, of course it's to be Yi Zhouge's adulterer. Without an adulterer, how could Yi Zhouge cover up the crime of murdering Yi Rui? Is that woodcutter reliable? What if he goes back on his word?" Yi Xianxia was a little worried. There would always be loopholes in a fabricated matter. "Silly girl, dead people don't go back on their word," Su Yufeng said meaningfully. Yi Xianxia immediately understood and smiled. "Mother is right. It seems that Yi Zhouge will not be able to turn things around this time." Poisoning and murdering one's own sister was already a capital offense. Coupled with having an affair, Yi Xianxia could already see Yi Zhouge's fate of being spurned to death. Learn more. Don't stare at small things all day. Remember, you are going to be the crown princess in the future, the mother of the world. Su Yufeng patted her daughter's hand and said, "It's getting late. You should go back to your courtyard and rest." "No, your daughter wants to sleep here tonight. Tomorrow morning we'll go see that bastard Yi Zhouge suffer." Yi Xianxia pestered Su Yufeng. "I really don't know what to do with you." Su Yufeng tapped her daughter's forehead and finally agreed. The next morning, Yi Xianxia and Su Yufeng were waiting for the show to start. He saw Yi Yuxuan walk in with an ashen face. "Master, who made you so angry so early in the morning?" Su Yufeng asked curiously. There was still no news from Jihua's side. Fifth concubine should not have gone over to complain. You still have the face to say that? Yi Yuxuan stared fiercely at Su Yufeng and scolded, I know you don't like seventh concubine, but you can't harm her like this. Master, I don't understand what you mean. When did I harm seventh concubine? Su Yufeng didn't understand what was going on. You didn't harm her, then why did she fall into a dream? Yi Yuxuan looked at Su Yufeng as if he wanted to eat her. I didn't. Su Yufeng immediately denied. Although she hated seventh concubine, she would never use such a lowly method to deal with her. I've already gone to see seventh concubine. The evidence is conclusive. You still dare to quibble? Yi Yuxuan did not believe Su Yufeng's nonsense. There was only one bottle of dream in the Yi mansion, and he personally handed it to Su Yufeng last night. Master, we've been husband and wife for more than 10 years. Don't you understand me? Su Yufeng's eyes turned red and cried, even if I wanted to harm seventh concubine, I wouldn't use dream. Isn't this digging a hole for myself? Yi Yuxuan frowned. He had to admit that Su Yufeng was right. Su Yufeng was not so stupid. But if it wasn't her, who else could it be? Su Yufeng also had the same question. She just got the dream last night. Seventh concubine was poisoned this morning. Someone must have deliberately framed her. In the end, who was so powerful that they could foresee the future and harm her? Just when Su Yufeng was puzzled, Jihua hurriedly walked in and reported, Master, Furen, eldest young miss and fifth Yinyang are making a ruckus outside, saying that they want to find Master for justice. Su Yufeng suddenly became spirited and said, let them wait in the outer hall. Seventh concubine's dream was a small matter. The most important thing now was to deal with Yi Jioga and get the purple thunderwood and her treasures. Jihua didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at Su Yufeng anxiously. She wanted to just call Madam. Eldest Miss and fifth concubine didn't look right. But Master was standing in front of Madam. She didn't dare to make a sound. She could only secretly look at second Miss next to her. Unfortunately, Yi Xianxia didn't understand what Jihua meant. Instead, she shouted unhappily, what are you still doing here? Why don't you invite them over? Yes. Jihua had no choice but to turn around and leave. Master, let's talk about seventh concubine later. Let's go see fifth concubine first. Su Yufeng said softly. Humph. Yi Yuxuan's anger hadn't disappeared. He coldly snorted and took the lead to walk out. Su Yufeng and Yi Xianxia hurriedly followed him. Fifth concubine was standing in the hall. She was wearing an old lotus-colored dress. Her eyes were swollen like a peach. She looked very haggard. Yi Jioga was wearing a light green dress. She expressionlessly watched Yi Yuxuan, Su Yufeng and Yi Xianxia walk in. When she thought that the three of them had joined forces to harm her, she felt extremely disgusted. However, the main character of today's scene was fifth concubine. She could only endure it for the time being. Fifth concubine, why did you bring Jioga here? Yi Yuxuan lifted his robe and sat on the upper seat. He was waiting for fifth concubine to accuse Yi Jioga of murdering his own sister. Unexpectedly, fifth concubine didn't respond to his question. Instead, she pounced on Su Yufeng like a mad tiger and shouted hysterically, Su Yufeng, how dare you harm my daughter? I'll fight it out with you. Su Yufeng never thought that fifth concubine would dare to make a move on her. She was caught off guard and fifth concubine's long nails fiercely scratched her cheek. A few bloodstains immediately seeped out of her delicate face. Su Yufeng had been Madame Yi for so many years, and no one had ever dared to make a move on her. Not to mention that the one who did it was fifth concubine, who she usually looked down on the most. She was so angry that she couldn't care less about Yi Yuxuan beside her. She raised her hand and hit fifth concubine's chest. Chapter 13. Fifth aunt was beaten by Su Yufeng to the point of vomiting blood. Her body flew out like a kite with a broken string. Yi Jioga leaped to catch fifth concubine. As soon as he landed, he shouted angrily at Su Yufeng, Su Yufeng, you are truly ruthless. Not only did you harm fourth younger sister, you even didn't let fifth concubine off. Are you even human? Before Su Yufeng could speak, Yi Xianxia couldn't hold back anymore. She jumped out and scolded Yi Jioga. Yi Jioga, what nonsense are you talking about? When did my mother harm fourth sister? It's clear that you were having an affair with a man outside and fourth sister saw it. That's why you used the dream to harm her. But Yi Jioga directly slapped her and said coldly, You have no respect for your elders. Since when did it become your turn to interrupt when DJ is speaking? Xianxia covered her face and stared at Yijioga with wide eyes. She said with a trembling voice, You dare to hit me? Yijioga slapped her again. What did your mother teach you? Don't you know to speak respectfully to DJ? Xianxia was afraid of being beaten. She quickly retreated behind Su Yufeng and cried, Mother! Yijioga, you dare to beat your sister in front of me and your father. Do you still have us elders in your eyes? Su Yufeng trembled with anger and raised her hand to hit back. However, Yijioga grabbed her wrist and fiercely threw her to the ground. Others can say that I have no rules. Only a woman with a poisonous heart like you is not qualified to say this. Su Yufeng fell in front of Yi Yuxuan and shouted with disheveled hair, Master! Yijioga, what the hell are you doing? Yi Yuxuan's face was livid and he was trembling with anger. Father, I'm not crazy. The one who's crazy is Su Yufeng. You still don't know, but last night, Su Yufeng rushed into 5th concubine's courtyard and forced 4th sister to drink poison. Yijioga said with an imposing manner. How could Yi Yuxuan not know that he agreed to all of this? However, no matter how shameless he was, he couldn't admit it in front of Yijioga. He said coldly, What nonsense are you talking about? Why would Madame force poison on 4th sister? That's right. That sickly Yu Rui wouldn't be able to live long if she was left there. Who would have the time to feed her poison? Yi Xianxia helped Su Yufeng up and looked at 5th concubine with eyes full of resentment. Moreover, the lives of both mother and daughter are not even worth a medicinal pill. Who would do a losing deal? Eldest miss, my life is cheap, but 4th miss is master's flesh and blood. Is master worthless in your eyes? 5th concubine panted. 5th aunt, I think you're really possessed. How dare you say such treasonous words? Su Yufeng fiercely looked at 5th Inyang, who had changed sides at the last minute. She wished she could tear her body into 1,000 pieces. She turned to Ji Hua and ordered, Someone take 5th Inyang away and ask a doctor to treat her. She deliberately emphasized the word cure. It was obvious that she wanted to kill 5th concubine. I'll see who dares to touch her. Yijioga stood in front of the 5th concubine. Ji Hua didn't dare to move and looked at Su Yufeng. Su Yufeng shouted to Yi Yuxuan, Master, are you just going to watch Yijioga humiliate us mother and daughter? Su Yufeng, don't be a thief. It's you and your daughter who humiliate others. Yijioga sneered and turned to Yi Yuxuan, who had an ashen face, and said, Father, you haven't asked 5th concubine why Su Yufeng poisoned 4th sister. Your daughter dares to guarantee that if you don't ask, you will definitely regret it for the rest of your life. Yi Yuxuan frowned deeply. He hated Yijioga's attitude. It reminded him of his father-in-law Yun Tianwei, who used to be so arrogant. But he also knew that when they were so arrogant, it meant that something really happened that he couldn't miss. So no matter how much he hated them, he had to weigh the weight of Yijioga's words. Father, don't listen to eldest sister's nonsense. Mother has always been virtuous. It's absolutely impossible for her to harm 4th sister. They are framing her. Yi Xianxia said while gnashing her teeth. Yijioga didn't even look at her. He just looked straight at Yi Yuxuan. The raging fire in his eyes made people not dare to ignore him. It was as if Yi Yuxuan missed today's question, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Yi Yuxuan really wanted to fling his sleeves and leave, but after thinking about it, he coldly snorted and said, Fine, I want to see what tricks you are playing. Yijioga lowered his head and softly said to 5th concubine, 5th concubine, if you have any grievances, just tell father. I believe that father will definitely uphold justice for you and 4th sister. The 5th concubine wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and staggered over to Yi Yuxuan. She said to him in a trembling voice, Master, the madam plotted against the 4th miss because she knew that the 4th miss had obtained a great opportunity. What kind of great opportunity? Yi Yuxuan's heart moved. He couldn't help but look at Yijioga. Could it be that this damned girl gave 4th sister some benefits, so Su Yufeng got the news and went to snatch it in advance? Thinking of this, he suddenly felt a little dissatisfied with Su Yufeng, who had hidden the treasure from him. Master, don't listen to her nonsense. 4th sister stays in the courtyard every day and doesn't go out. How can she have any great opportunity? It's clearly. Su Yufeng was a little anxious. She felt that things were completely out of her control and she was running in an unknown direction. Shut up. Yi Yuxuan impatiently interrupted Su Yufeng's words. then said to the fifth aunt, "Just what kind of heavenly opportunity did fourth girl obtain? Tell me honestly if you dare to lie." There was no need to say more threatening words. He believed that fifth concubine knew what was good for her. Of course, fifth concubine knew what was good for her. She stood up straight and glanced at Su Yufeng and Yi Xianxian's hate-filled faces. After meeting Yi Jiuge's encouraging eyes, she said in a deep voice, "Master, in fact I wanted to tell you a long time ago. Our fourth miss has awakened the wood and fire spirit root. She will become the strongest alchemist in the Yi family." "What did you say?" Yi Yuxuan suddenly stood up and stared straight at fifth concubine. "You said that fourth sister has the wood and fire spirit root?" "Master, it's absolutely true. A few days ago fourth miss coughed non-stop. This servant knelt down and begged Madam for a long time before Madam agreed to call a doctor over. The doctor said that fourth Mrs. Spirit Root has awakened, but her body is too weak and she needs a good rest to get through it. This servant reported this matter to Madam and wanted to ask for some tonic. I didn't expect that the tonic would not come but poison," fifth concubine cried as she spoke. Her tears flowed down her cheeks to her chin and mixed with the blood on her clothes. No one would doubt that what she said was false. "You're talking nonsense." Su Yufeng's voice suddenly rose like a hen that had been strangled. She didn't know that Yi Rui had awakened the wood and fire spirit root. If she had known earlier, that damned girl's grave would have been covered with weeds. Chapter 14. Master, this servant is not talking nonsense. If you don't believe me, go ahead and check. If this servant is lying, I will be struck by lightning. Fifth concubine swore with tears streaming down her face. Yi Yuxuan no longer doubted fifth concubine's words. He turned to look at Su Yufeng with eyes that seemed to be spewing fire. "Evil woman, how dare you harm my precious daughter?" His daughter, who was originally the most worthless in his heart, had become his precious daughter because she had awakened the water and wood spirit roots. Because the wood and fire spirit roots complemented each other, it was most suitable for alchemy. Although Yi Xianxian was known as a genius alchemist, she only had a second-level fire spirit root, which was much worse than the wood and fire spirit root. Yi Yuxuan boasted that the Yi family was the #1 alchemist family in Thunder Country, but he actually left such a treasure at home and almost caused her to be killed. If this were to spread, he would definitely be laughed at. "Master, this concubine is wronged." Su Yufeng looked at Yi Yuxuan pitifully. She and Yi Yuxuan had been husband and wife for so many years, so she knew his character very well. He was so angry not because of his deep feelings for seventh concubine and Yi Rui, but because he had promised to knock Yi Jiuge down but failed to do so. Yi Yuxuan felt that he had been deceived. Su Yufeng was a little flustered now. She didn't understand how her perfect plan had become like this. "Evil woman, wait for me. I will settle this with you later." Yi Yuxuan flicked his sleeves and hurriedly walked towards fifth concubine's courtyard. He was now anxious to see if his precious daughter really had the wood and fire spirit roots. Su Yufeng and Yi Xianxian didn't dare to follow and could only watch Yi Jiuge support fifth concubine and leave with resentment. "Mother, what should we do now?" Yi Xianxian supported Su Yufeng. The red slap mark on her face had not disappeared and she looked very embarrassed. "Don't worry, your father was just angry for a moment. He will be fine once his anger subsides." Su Yufeng's face showed a ruthless expression. This time she had misjudged fifth concubine's courage and failed. Next time she would never make the same mistake. Fifth concubine Yi Jiuge, Yi Rui, these bitches, she would not let any of them off. After Yi Jiuge supported fifth concubine out of Inkwater Garden, he asked in a low voice, "Fifth concubine, are you all right?" She only told fifth concubine to pretend to be pitiful in front of Yi Yuxuan. She didn't expect her to risk her life. Fortunately, Su Yufeng did not use her full strength just now, otherwise fifth concubine might have been killed on the moment. "It's okay. I'm happy to take this slap." Fifth mistress smiled very happily. She felt that it was worth it to exchange a mouthful of blood for Su Yufeng to be scolded. "I'll prescribe some medicine for you later. You should stay in bed and rest well for the next few days so as not to leave a lingering illness." Fifth concubine said. She, concubine shook hurt, and said, I can't, and the concubine she shook her and Yi. And, con he. Teat. Yi Rui was still lying on the bed in a daze. Ruing still lying on her in. Lying still beside Yi can't Yi. Lying. He. From. Yi Yuxuan impatiently waved for them to leave, then took out a spirit testing stone and personally tested Yi Rui's spirit root. TSK. Your father is so excited when he meets a wood and fire spirit root. If he knows that you have the rare thunder and fire spirit root, will he go crazy with joy? TSK. Your scum of a father is so excited just because he met a wood and fire spirit root. If he knew that you have the rare thunder and fire spirit root, I wonder if he would go crazy with joy? Zishang said with a smile. He won't know. Yi Zhouge's eyes flashed with sarcasm. He won't know. Yi Zhouge's eyes flashed with sarcasm. When Yi Yuxuan found out, she was already at a height he couldn't look up to. Master, fourth miss was poisoned by Madame last night and has been unconscious. Please take a look at her. Fifth concubine said with a choked voice. Yi Zhouge had given Yi Rui some virtual dream this morning in order to put on a show. It's okay. Fourth miss was just poisoned by Shenzhen. She will be fine after taking some medicine. Yi Yuxuan said lightly and removed Su Yufeng's crime of poisoning Yi Rui. No matter how angry he was with Su Yufeng, he still had to protect her face. Fifth concubine's nails dug deep into her flesh. She was afraid that the hatred on her face would show and didn't even dare to raise her head. Yi Zhouge knew that Yi Yuxuan wouldn't touch Su Yufeng easily, so he wasn't angry. When he saw him take out the antidote, he said first, Father, let me feed fourth sister the medicine. Yi Yuxuan handed the antidote to Yi Zhouge. Yi Zhouge helped Yi Rui up and stuffed the small red pill into her pale mouth. Yi Rui ate the antidote and her eyelashes trembled slightly. Then she slowly opened her eyes. For sister, how do you feel now? Yi Zhouge stuffed a pillow behind her and let her lean against the headboard. Big sister, why are you here? Yi Rui looked confused. I heard that you were sick, so I came to take a look. Yi Zhouge patted Yi Rui's small hand. He didn't expect that his words would remind Yi Rui of the nightmare of being forced to drink the medicine last night. She trembled and looked around for her mother. However, she was shocked by her mother's miserable appearance and asked in horror, Concubine, why is your chest covered in blood? Concubine is fine. Fifth concubine hurriedly covered the blood on her chest and stammered, This is my... Sob, madam must be trying to harm you. She. Yi Rui cried and gasped. Then her eyes rolled back and she fainted again. Fourth miss, what's wrong? Fifth concubine was so scared that her soul flew away. Don't worry, fifth concubine. Father is here. Yi Zhouge looked at Yi Yuxuan. Medicine was not separated from the family. As a third-stage advanced pill master, Yi Yuxuan was good at treating illnesses. He stretched out his finger and calmly felt his fourth daughter's pulse. His expression immediately became extremely ugly. He didn't expect his daughter's body to be so weak. Pill refinement not only required special innate spiritual roots, but also a strong body. Otherwise, no matter how good one's aptitude was, it would be useless. Master, what's wrong with fourth miss? Fifth concubine asked anxiously. Why is fourth girl's body so weak? How did you usually raise her? Yi Yuxuan retracted his hand and glared at fifth concubine fiercely. A good daughter had actually been raised like this by her. What a waste. Master, it's all this servant's fault. All these years, fourth miss hasn't even been able to eat her fill. Fifth concubine's red and swollen eyes once again shed 2 streams of tears. What do you mean by not even being able to eat her fill? Yi Yuxuan was so angry that he laughed. Did he think that their Yi residence was a beggar's nest? Father, you should take a look at fifth concubine and fourth sister's room before you say that. Yi Zhouge's eyelids drooped slightly. His long eyelashes hid the sarcasm in his eyes. Chapter 15. Yi Yuxuan looked around and found that the room was extremely dilapidated. The windows were full of cracks, the benches were missing arms and legs, and there was not even a teapot and cup on the table. He really didn't know that his Yi mansion had such a broken place, and that it was his aunt and daughter who lived there. Now he really believed that fourth girl's body was so weak because she didn't have enough to eat. Father, although fourth sister's body is weak, as long as she uses elixirs she can still recover. Don't you have a lot of foundation cultivating elixirs? Why don't you give a few bottles to fourth sister? Yi Zhouge smiled. She knew that Yi Yuxuan had always been stingy. Taking his elixirs was like taking his life, so she deliberately said this. Yi Yuxuan's face couldn't help but twitch. He took out a jade bottle with some heartache and pretended to be generous. Okay, let fourth girl try this bottle of foundation cultivating elixirs first. If it's not enough, then take more. Although he was reluctant to give up his elixirs, he was even more reluctant to give up fourth girl's good aptitude. He was so conflicted that his liver hurt. Yijioga took the elixir and stuffed it into fifth aunt's hand. He smiled. Father has already promised to give fourth sister 2 bottles of foundation cultivating elixirs every month. Fifth aunt quickly thanked father for fourth sister. This servant thanks master on behalf of fourth miss. Fifth aunt immediately knelt down and kowtowed to Yiyuxuan. Yiyuxuan's eyes widened. When did he promise to give fourth girl a bottle of foundation cultivating elixirs every month? There were 15 foundation cultivating elixirs in a bottle. Not counting the time, energy and cultivation, just the medicinal herbs alone cost 150 taels of silver. It was too expensive to give it to fourth girl. But Yijioga and fifth aunt echoed each other, so he really couldn't put down his pride to refuse. He could only force a smile and said, fourth girl's body is weak. She can't use 2 bottles a month. 1 bottle is enough. 1 bottle it is. Yijioga was very satisfied with this. It should be known that the most favored Xianxia also had a bottle of foundation cultivating elixirs every month. Thank you, master. Fifth aunt repeatedly thanked him. Take care, fourth girl. If anything happens to her, I will ask you. Yiyuxuan was still distressed about his elixirs and didn't want to stay for a minute. Don't worry, master. This servant will take good care of fourth Mississippi. The fifth concubine nodded repeatedly, and then said with some suspicion, it's just that fourth Miss's body is weak. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for her to live in this shabby room. Please help us, master, and ask madam to be merciful and let fourth Miss move to a better courtyard. No matter what, she is your daughter. My daughter should be raised with care. There's no need for that evil woman Su Yufeng to show mercy. In the future, there's no need to ask her about the matters in the mansion. You can make your own decisions. Yixuan said angrily. Su Yufeng, this ill-intentioned woman, actually abused his precious daughter in private, causing him to have to use so many medicinal pills to help his precious daughter recuperate. It was really infuriating. The more Yixuan thought about it, the angrier he got. He left after saying, in the future, you and seventh concubine will be the housekeeper. Fifth aunt stared blankly at Yixuan's departing figure. She turned her head and asked Yijioga, eldest miss, what did master mean by what he said just now? Yijioga thought for a moment before saying, father probably meant that you and seventh concubine will be in charge of the Yi household's internal affairs. That's impossible. Fifth aunt felt as if she was dreaming. Last night she was still thinking of fighting for a bright future for her daughter even if she had to sacrifice her life. She didn't expect that she didn't lose her life. Instead she flew into the sky. In an instant she rose from a position where everyone could look down on her to the position of managing hundreds of people in the mansion. Since father has already said it, he shouldn't go back on his word. Such a good thing has fallen into your hands. You have to grasp the opportunity. Yijioga guessed that Yiyuxuan must have lost his head in anger to make such a decision. However, even if he wanted to go back on his words, she wouldn't agree. But this servant doesn't know how to manage the house. Fifth aunt's face was full of fear. Although she was the daughter of a scholar before she was sold into the Yi family and could read a few words, it was still too difficult for her to suddenly manage such a large family like the Yi household. You don't have to worry too much about the matters of the housekeeper. Later I'll ask Mother Qing to come over and help you. You'll slowly learn. Yijioga comforted. Mother Qing had been helping Yijioga's mother manage the Yi household in the past. She was familiar with these matters and could do it at any time. But what if those servants don't listen to orders and disobey in secret? Fifth aunt still couldn't help but worry. These past few years she had been bullied ruthlessly and knew very well the methods of those servants. If they don't listen, then beat them. Beat them to death. Yijioga smiled coldly. In any case, half of the servants in the Yi residence were Su Yufeng's trusted aides. When fifth aunt heard that she was going to beat people, her heart skipped a beat and hesitation appeared on her face. Although she dared to fight with her life on the line, she was still a kind person. She couldn't do something like beating people up. You just have to think about fourth sister. If you don't beat them, when Su Yufeng comes out of confinement, the one who will be beaten will be you. He can't be confined forever. Yijioga understood Su Yufeng's temperament very well. She couldn't sit still and wait for death. The real battle had just begun. Eldest young Miss is right. The servant knows what to do. When fifth aunt thought of her daughter, her face immediately flashed with determination. I will ask Mother Qing to come over later. However, no matter how capable Mother Qing is, she is only a servant of the Yi family. As the master, you have to stand up yourself. In the future, don't call yourself a servant. You are fourth sister's biological mother and have a noble status. Don't belittle yourself. Do you understand? Ijoga knew that fifth aunt was used to being oppressed. She might not be able to change for a while, but as long as fourth sister was mentioned, she would definitely listen. Eldest young miss, rest assured. This servant understands. Fifth aunt nodded. She was not born to be a wretch. It was just that in the past her status in the household was low. Only by putting herself in the dust could it be possible to protect her daughter to survive. Now that she had the opportunity to stand in a high position, she certainly didn't want to continue to roll in the dust. It's fine as long as you know what to do. Ijoga nodded. Although she looked young, she had the experience of 2 lifetimes. She had a steady bearing. She didn't feel strange at all when she taught a lesson to an aunt who was older and more senior than her. Fifth Inyang also sincerely wanted to consult her, so she immediately asked, Eldest young lady, Master said that the matters of the residence will be handed over to Chia and seventh Inyang to manage in the future. Should Chia first go and inform seventh Inyang? Even if you want to inform, it should be seventh aunt who comes to find you. Ijoga smiled faintly. Seventh aunt is a spiritualist and has always been doted on by Master. This servant is afraid that she will not be willing to come. Fifth aunt looked worried. She only had a mortal physique and always felt that she was a head shorter than a spiritualist. Fifth aunt, you only need to remember one thing. Your daughter, Yi Rui, has the wood and fire spiritual root. She is the most qualified alchemist. In the future, those spiritualists have to live according to your daughter's wishes. Chapter 16. Are alchemists really that powerful? Although fifth aunt knew that alchemists were rare, her daughter was still sick in bed and had not refined a single pill, so she was not confident. Of course, otherwise why would seventh aunt be willing to marry father as a concubine? Ijoga said lightly. Seventh aunt Mu Xianglan was a wood element beginner spiritualist. She was young and beautiful, so she could be the main wife of any small family. However, she said that she respected Yi Yushuan's reputation as an alchemist grandmaster and would rather marry him as a concubine. To put it bluntly, it was to get better cultivation resources. It was very difficult for spiritualists to cultivate. Without the help of pills, it would be very difficult to advance further. However, pills were expensive and ordinary families could not afford them. In order to earn more money to cultivate, many spiritualists would work for large families. There were also many beautiful people like Mu Xianglan who found a backer. Although Mu Xianglan had been married to the Yi family for more than 2 years, she was still doted on by Yi Yushuan because she had successfully advanced a while ago. Now she received the same treatment as Yi Xianxia, a bottle of cultivating essence pills every month. Mu Xianglan was a smart person. Although Yi Rui was not an alchemist yet, based on her aptitude, Mu Xianglan would definitely build a good relationship with Yi Rui. Therefore, she would definitely take the initiative to find fifth aunt. After Ijoga carefully analyzed the situation to fifth Inyang was finally relieved. In that case, this concubine will wait for her here. There is no need to wait for her here. Pack your things and move to Qiushuiyuan later. Ijoga ordered. Qiushuiyuan. Fifth aunt's eyes widened in shock. She shook her head and said, No, that is the courtyard that Madam prepared for you. How can we live there? Qiushuiyuan was Yun Jiao's favorite courtyard and the most beautiful place in the Yi residence. It was famous for its autumn waters. She had planned to let her daughter Yi Jioga live there. After Yun Jiao passed away, Yi Yushuan had been missing his wife and did not allow anyone to move there, not even Yi Jioga. Later on, Yi Jioga was tested to be a waste of talent. After the crown prince revealed the idea of breaking off the engagement and marrying Yi Xianxian, Yi Yushuan acquiesced to Su Yufeng tidying up the Qiushui garden for Yi Xianxian to live in. I'm living very well in Purple Forest Park. I won't move anywhere else. Besides, the only good empty courtyard in the mansion is Autumn Water Park. It's just right for you to move there now. Yi Jioga saw that the fifth concubine still wanted to decline, so he said, Since you said that the Qiushuiyuan is mine, then you have to listen to me and let fourth sister live there. This way, those servants in the Yi residence who worship the powerful and look down on the weak will know that you and your mother are of great importance. Whether a person's status was noble or not was directly reflected in the basic necessities of life. Because of Yun Jiaojiao, Qiushui Garden had a special position in the Yi mansion. It could be said that it represented the status of the Yi mansion's young lady, so Su Yufeng wanted Yi Xianxian to live there. She wanted to prove to everyone that her daughter was nobler than Yi Jiuge. If Yi Rui could move in, it would mean that she was superior to Yi Xianxian. Needless to say, her identity was precious. The fifth concubine understood what it meant to live in Qiushui Garden, so she was afraid of the pressure that came with it. Fifth concubine, since you have already shed all pretense of cordiality with Su Yufeng, you have to be tough. Otherwise, if you show the slightest weakness, you will be trampled to pieces and never be able to rise again. Yi Jiuge's words smashed all the remaining hope in the fifth concubine's heart. Her expression changed again and again. Finally, she gritted her teeth and said, "Okay, I will listen to eldest young lady's arrangements." Since she had chosen to be on eldest young lady's boat, she could only trust her to the end. Fifth concubine, you don't have to worry too much. Now that father has placed fourth sister at the center of his heart, no one will dare to bully you and your mother. Rest assured and boldly move in. Yi Jiuge saw that the fifth concubine was so nervous that her mouth was pale, so he personally poured her a cup of hot tea and stuffed it into her hand. The fifth concubine trembled as she drank the hot tea. Only then did she feel alive. She stood up and said, "Then I will go pack my things now. Eldest young lady, please stay here and accompany Rui." "Okay, I will accompany fourth sister here. You go pack." After Yi Jiuge watched the fifth concubine walk out, he then sat at the head of Yi Rui's bed. Looking at the thin girl lying quietly, he said softly, "Stop pretending. I know you have been awake." The little girl's fingers trembled slightly. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at Yi Jiuge with some embarrassment and said, "Big sister. Did you hear what I said to your mother just now?" Yi Jiuge looked at the little girl's big black and white eyes and asked. "I heard." The little girl nodded. "Do you know what it means?" Yi Jiuge asked again. The reason why she had spent so much time and effort to explain to the fifth concubine was that she wanted to say it to the little girl who was pretending to be asleep. The most important thing for the fifth concubine to be able to stand up against Su Yufeng was whether this little girl could live up to expectations. "I know." The little girl nodded and said slowly, "Because I have awakened the wood and fire spirit root, I may become a very powerful alchemist in the future. So father is very good to us now. Madam will not dare to bully us openly in the future." "You are right. Madam will not dare to bully you openly in the future, but she will definitely play a lot of tricks in the dark. Your life in the future will be more difficult than it is now. Are you afraid?" Yi Jiuge pushed the black hair stuck to the little girl's forehead behind her ear. This little girl looked weak, but in fact she was very stubborn. She had the same temper as the fifth concubine. When she was forced, she would dare to bite people. In the past, when those servants who worshipped their superiors came to bully the mother and daughter, the 4-year-old little girl already knew how to fake fainting to scare them away. This was actually a very smart child. "Afraid?" There was a flash of fear in the little girl's big eyes. Her fingers grabbed the old bedding under her and said with a trembling voice, "I am afraid that I am not as good as they think. I am afraid that I will not be able to learn alchemy in the future and will disappoint father." The little girl understood a truth since she was a child. The higher you stand, the harder you fall. The more good her father was to her now, the more ruthless he would be to her in the future. Even his biological daughter was no exception. She knew it when she saw the life of her big sister in the past. "It's good that you know to be afraid." Yi Jiuge touched her little head. If she knew to be afraid, she would not be proud and arrogant. As long as Yi Rui could walk up steadily with her qualifications, even if she did not have great achievements in alchemy, she would not fall to pieces. What's more, she was here. "Don't worry. Big sister is here. Big sister will help you." Yi Jiuge gently stroked the little girl's hair. As long as they were obedient and let her arrange everything, she would definitely protect the mother and daughter. Chapter 17. After Yi Jiuge comforted Yi Rui, he found Mother Qing and asked her to help Fifth Inyang move things to Qiushui Yuan. "Eldest miss, that is the courtyard that madam prepared for you. How can you let Fifth Inyang and Fourth miss live there?" Mother Qing frowned in disapproval. Yi Jiuge didn't say anything and just looked at Mother Qing. Although his eyes were faint, there was an indescribable majesty to them. Mother Qing's heart suddenly trembled. Only now did she realize that she was questioning eldest Mrs. orders. This old servant was wrong. This old servant will go and move it now. Mother Qing quickly apologized and obediently brought people to help Fifth Yinyang move things. At this time, Yi Yuxuan had already announced that Su Yufeng was grounded and the household's affairs were handed over to Fifth Yinyang and Seventh Yinyang. After he learned that Yi Jiuge had given Qiushui Yuan to Yi Rui, he immediately sent a caretaker mother and 2 servant girls to Qiushui Yuan to serve Yi Rui. When Yi Jiuge brought Fifth Yinyang and Yi Rui over, the caretaker mother and the 2 servant girls had already tidied up Qiushui Yuan. The caretaker mother's surname was Qiu. She had long eyebrows and thin eyes. She looked very smart and capable. She led a group of servant girls and made arrangements for Fifth Yinyang and Yi Rui. Even Yi Jiuge couldn't find anything wrong with it. Eldest Miss, this old servant sees that Fifth Yinyang and Fourth Miss are very tired. If you don't have any other orders, why don't you let them rest first? Mother Qiu bowed to Yi Jiuge. Yi Jiuge frowned slightly. Mother Qiu's words seemed to imply that Fifth Yinyang and Yi Rui were her servants and needed her permission to rest. Needless to say, Yi Yuxuan must have secretly ordered Mother Qiu to use any means necessary to sow discord between her and Fifth Yinyang. If Yi Yuxuan didn't do as he wished, he probably wouldn't be able to sleep well. So Yi Jiuge followed Mother Qiu's words and said, "If that's the case, then let Fifth Yinyang and Fourth Miss rest. I'll come see them another day." With that, he nodded to Fifth Yinyang and Yi Rui and left with Mother Qing. Later, pick some reliable servants to serve in Qiushui Yuan. Yi Jiuge ordered Mother Qing after he left Qiushui Yuan. Mother Qiu was such a troublemaker. She had to find some reliable servants to serve around Fifth Yinyang and Yi Jiuge. "Eldest Miss, why don't we bring back the old people who were driven out of our mansion?" Mother Qing asked. Those were the children of the Yun manor and were the most loyal. "No, we absolutely cannot bring the Yun family's elder back," Yi Jiuge said solemnly. On the surface, the elders of the Yun family were all driven away by Su Yufeng, but without Yi Yuxuan's consent, how would Su Yufeng dare to touch them? Jiao Yun 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 Yi Jiao Yun Yun Jiao. Yi Yi Yu to Yun Yi Inyang Yu Yi Yun Yun was. If he really wanted to find the old man from the Yun family, Yi Yuxuan would immediately release Su Yufeng and step on her and the fifth aunt. Yi Yi Yu and Yi Yu and Inyang and Y Inyang. Yu. Yi Yi Yu Yi I did Yinyang and said and Yi Yi Yi. Yi Yufeng didn't care about fifth Inyang and Yi Rui. He just wanted to keep them in check. He felt that Su Yufeng was getting bolder and didn't take him seriously. That was why he wanted fifth Inyang to fight against Su Yufeng. In addition to raising Yi Rui's status, he also wanted to raise fifth Inyang's heart. Fifth Inyang was too lowly. As long as someone was willing to help her, she was willing to follow them. But if she grew up and became more knowledgeable, she would become greedy. She would hate those who helped her in the dust because they saw her at her worst. Yuxuan knew this. After all, this was how he lived in the Yun family. "Miss, since you know fifth Inyang will fight against you in the future, why are you still willing to help her?" Mother Qing asked nervously. "Since I dared to raise fifth Inyang and fourth sister, I naturally have the confidence to hold them in my hands." Yi Jiuge smiled faintly. Ingrates wouldn't appear in her hands. Those that appeared were already dead. Even so, it's hard to predict a person's heart. We should find more reliable people to put beside fifth Inyang and fourth Mississippi. This old servant doesn't think that Mother Qiu is a good person. Mother Qing immediately said, "It's too late to pick people now. I'm going to buy some slaves to train. Mother Qing, come with me." Yi Jiuge changed into a simple blue dress and covered her face with a curtain hat. Then she left the Yi family with Mother Qing. On the street, they found several groups of soldiers searching for the escaped slaves of the Su family. The Su family really has a lot of face. It's just an escaped slave, but they actually sent out soldiers to search. Mother Qing couldn't stand the Su family's behavior. No matter how big her face is, it's none of our business. Yi Jiuge didn't take this matter to heart. At the moment, buying slaves was more important. At the largest slave market on West Street, there were many high platforms. The slave head was shouting loudly on the platform. The slaves standing on the platform were wearing ragged clothes. Their eyes were dead, as if they had lost their confidence in life. Just looking at them made people feel depressed. It was no wonder that the people of the big families didn't like slaves to serve at home. Eldest miss, why don't we go back to the Yun family's manor and pick some reliable people to serve? Mother Qing didn't like these slaves at all. They looked dirty and vulgar. The female slaves with a bit of beauty looked like they were specially raised to serve men. How could they be qualified to serve the eldest miss? Since we're here, let's take a look first. Yijioga didn't want those clever maids. Instead, she wanted people who were willing to sacrifice their lives for her. The reason why these slaves were desperate was because they had lost their confidence in life. If you could give them a bit of hope to live, they would sell their lives for you. However, Yijioga strolled around the slave market. She didn't like any of them. Those slaves were like dead fish. This kind of training was too exhausting. She wanted to find some with better qualifications. Zishang, are you here? Yijioga decided to ask for help. What's the matter? Zishang's lazy voice sounded. Help me pick a few slaves with good qualifications. Yijioga said directly. 500 steps to the left. There's a slave that's not bad. Zishang said casually. Yijioga glanced around and found that 500 steps to the left was a row of black wooden houses. That was the slave warehouse. Unauthorized people were not allowed to enter. As expected of a slave that Zishang fancied. He didn't know if they were good or not, but they would definitely be troublesome. Although it's troublesome, it's definitely worth it. Zishang had a look of, it's up to you whether you want to go or not. Yijioga hesitated for a moment. In the end, she still decided to take a look. She couldn't just barge in. She had to use some tricks. Chapter 18. Yijioga thought about it. Then she took out 2 gold ingots from her purse and played with them in her hand. Then she took Mother Qing to the largest slave yard. The slave leader was a short black fat man. His shifty eyes drifted to the gold ingots in Yijioga's hand while he smiled flatteringly. Miss, please come in. What kind of slaves do you want to buy? I want to find some slaves with good qualifications to be my slaves. Do you have any good goods? Yijioga asked. Miss, the slaves on the stage now are the best slaves in the slave yard. The slave leader patted the chests of several slaves and introduced them like livestock. Although they are not spiritualists, their bodies are strong. You can take them back and train them well. They are absolutely useful. I don't like these. Do you have any better goods in the slave warehouse behind you? Yijioga asked, pointing to the row of small black houses. Those are all inferior goods. They can't enter your eyes. The slave leader shook his head. It's up to me to decide whether they can enter my eyes or not. Yijioga threw a piece of broken silver to the slave leader and said arrogantly, you just need to lead the way. Okay, this way please. The slave leader took the silver and led the way in front of him. Yijioga followed the slave leader into the small black house. He saw that it was dirty and smelly. Behind the wooden fences were old, weak, sick and disabled slaves, which made him feel bad. Mother Qing's eyebrows were wrinkled. The disgusted look made the slave owner feel that he probably couldn't do business today. Which slave are you talking about? Yijioga called Zishang in his heart. Left corner. Zishang replied lazily. Yijioga looked over and saw a thin man curled up on the ground. His whole body was dirty and he was no different from the slaves next to him. The slave leader followed Yijioga's line of sight. He didn't know what to think, but he immediately smiled and said, Miss, you have a good eye. This slave is the best we have here. Didn't you say that the best goods are placed outside? Why did you miss one here? Yijioga raised his eyebrows and asked. The slave leader continued to laugh. That's because this slave was sick 2 days ago and is recuperating. But he's really good stuff. If you don't believe me, you can take a look. The slave leader said as he strode over. He grabbed the man's hair and lifted it up, aiming his face at Yijioga. That person's face was unexpectedly clean. His skin was like jade and his facial features were exquisite. His long eyelashes were like little fans, and there was a red beauty mole between his eyebrows. His beauty added a hint of nobility. This kind of beauty was indeed top grade. Miss, you can't buy this. Mother Qing was anxious. Last time, eldest miss didn't return home at night because of second miss, and all kinds of unpleasant rumors had been spreading in the streets. If people knew that the eldest miss had bought a handsome male slave to keep in the house, the rumors would be even worse. Yijioga raised her hand to stop Mother Qing's nagging. She said to the slave leader, this slave is good. I like it. Name a price. Miss, it's not easy to find such a handsome man. Since you like him, I will sell him at a loss. 1,000 silver taels. The slave leader named a price. Yijioga hadn't spoken yet. Mother Qing had already jumped up and pointed at the slave leader. The slave looks sick. He won't wake up even after this. You still have the face to sell him for 1,000 silver taels? Do you think we are fools? Since eldest miss insisted on buying, Mother Qing could only help her bargain. Then how much do you want? The slave leader asked. 50 silver taels. Mother Qing directly offered a price. This price is too low. With his appearance, no matter if we sell him to a small restaurant or a brothel, we can get at least 1,000 silver taels. The slave leader said angrily. So what if he looks good? He looks sick. If we buy him, we will have to pay for the medicine. If you don't want to sell him, then keep him for yourself. Mother Qing pretended to leave. 50 silver taels is really not good. At least 500 silver taels. The slave leader showed a painful expression. 60 silver taels, no more. Mother Qing said without any doubt. No, 400 silver taels. 80 silver taels. After a fierce bargaining, the deal was finally made for 100 silver taels. Yijioga took out 100 silver taels and took the person away. Boss, you only sell such a good thing for 100 silver taels. Isn't it too much of a loss? The thug who was guarding the door had a face of pity. It was the first time he saw such a beautiful man. It's good enough to earn back the medicine money. The slave leader had a face of bad luck. Last night he found this injured and unconscious beautiful spiritualist on the side of the road. He thought he would make a fortune this time. He didn't expect this beautiful man to have a strange disease. He invited several doctors to see him, but they all said they couldn't cure him. If he didn't meet a fool who was blinded by lust today, he would have suffered a big loss. At this time, the fool Yijioga had just secretly brought the person back to Purple Forest Park. Eldest miss, this is the backyard. If you put him here and Su Yufeng finds out, she will definitely put the crime of adultery on you. Mother Qing said anxiously. It's okay. Let him change into a skirt. I guarantee that no one will recognize him as a man. Yijioga was very confident in the beauty of this male slave. Even if he wears a skirt, he is still a man. Mother Qing was anxious. What is the eldest miss thinking in the head? With his sickly appearance, even if he is a man, he won't be able to do anything. Yijioga saw that Mother Qing's old face was wrinkled like a bun. She decided to find something for her to do. Mother Qing, the slave was not bought. I will trouble you to go to the manor and pick some suitable people to serve in the mansion. Okay, this old servant will help you pick people. Mother Qing was shocked. She felt that if there were a few more servants in the courtyard, the eldest miss should not mess around again. After Mother Qing left, Yijioga closed the door and began to check the pulse of the beautiful male slave. Unexpectedly, she found that the male slave turned out to be a spiritualist. His level was not low, at least an intermediate level cultivation base. How could an intermediate spiritualist be reduced to a slave in that kind of place? Yijioga was very surprised. She calmed down and carefully checked his pulse. She found that his pulse was very chaotic. It was clearly the pulse of a dying person. No wonder the slave leader was willing to sell him at a low price. However, this kind of pulse was usually due to poisoning. Yijioga carefully checked his eyelids, lips and nails, but she didn't find anything abnormal. It was really strange. She took out the thunder fire needle and carefully pricked the beautiful male slave's renjong, huku and several other acupuncture points. Finally, when the needle tip was pulled out, it brought a little purple-black blood. It was a small blood bead, but it emitted a sweet smell. It made people feel dizzy and nauseous. It was really strange. Chapter 19. Yijioga had never seen a poison like this before. She was just about to pick up the drop of blood to taste it when Zishang's lazy voice rang in her ears. I advise you not to touch it. As soon as she finished speaking, the ice-cold snake tail wrapped around her in its embrace, and a familiar fragrance filled her nose. Why? Yijioga frowned at Zishang's beautiful face. No reason. Zishang's rosy red lips curled into a beautiful arc as she lowered her head and kissed Yijioga's scarred face. Speak human language, don't move your mouth. That cold and sticky feeling gave Yijioga goosebumps all over his body. Her hands were pressed against Zishang's strong chest. She wanted to break free, but he hugged her even tighter. Unable to resist, she could only let him hug her. I won't say it. Zishang hugged Yi Jioga's soft body and rested his chin on her head. He felt that this position couldn't be more comfortable. Zishang shuddered, his abdomen spasmed and his tail straightened instantly. He grabbed Yi Jioga's shoulder and pulled him out. His purple eyes narrowed dangerously, and his voice carried a hint of hatred. Do you really want this sovereign to eat you? Only then did Yi Jioga realize that he had done something bad. Heavens, she actually bit Zishang's place. What the hell? Yi Jioga wanted to hide in a crack in the ground, but facing Zishang's questioning, she braced herself and said, I knew you didn't have good intentions. Zishang stared at her. His bright purple eyes seemed to be able to see through everything and see through people's hearts. Yi Jioga felt a little guilty and regretted being too impulsive. He lowered his eyes and said, You still haven't told me what poison it is. Zishang's grip on Yi Jioga's shoulder tightened slightly before slowly loosening. Then he spun her around and hugged her in his arms. His tail wrapped tightly around her as he scolded, Idiot, can't you even tell that the demon poison has left your soul? Soul detachment? Yi Jioga blinked his eyes. Wasn't that the poison unique to the third-rank demonic beast, the soul detachment python? She remembered that people who were poisoned by this kind of demonic poison would feel weak all over their body. Their spiritual power would be suppressed and they would often fall asleep. They would die within 7 days. However, this kind of demonic poison was extremely rare. Why would someone use it on a slave? Stupid? That means this slave isn't simple. Zishang said with a look that said, You can even see that I'm stupid. I know he's not simple, but I don't know what's so special about him. Yi Jioga felt that Zishang must have had other intentions for pointing this slave to her. He's about to wake up. You can ask him yourself. Zishang lowered his head and fiercely bit Yi Jioga's red lips before disappearing. Perverted snake. Yi Jioga bitterly wiped his mouth and lowered his head to look at the beautiful male slave. His fan-like black eyelashes trembled slightly, like a butterfly spreading its wings and about to take flight. The next moment his eyelids slowly opened, and his black pupils shrank when he saw Yi Jioga. It looked like it wanted to attack her, but it was a pity that its whole body was powerless. You don't have to be afraid. I'm not a bad person. After Yi Jioga said this, she realized why this sentence was so strange. The beautiful male slave propped himself up and leaned against the wall. His pair of black eyes were like the mountain breeze on a winter night, looking at Yi Jioga coldly. What's your name? Yi Jioga asked with a friendly smile. How did you get poisoned? Yi Jioga continued to laugh. How did you become a slave? Yi Jioga felt that he couldn't laugh anymore. The beautiful male slave looked at Yi Jioga without saying a word. Yi Jioga was angry. Are you mute? The beautiful male slave continued to be silent. Little guy, if I hadn't fished you out of the slave's nest, you would have been sold to a small restaurant. Yi Jioga narrowed his eyes and sneered, Do you believe that I won't throw you to a small restaurant right now? A murderous look flashed in the beautiful male slave's eyes, and his lips were tightly pursed into a straight line. Idiot, people who have been poisoned by the soul detachment can't speak. Zishang couldn't stand it anymore. This was a bit embarrassing. Yi Jioga faked a few coughs and quickly changed the topic. Can you move? If you can move, change your dirty clothes. If you can't move, I don't mind helping you change. Yi Jioga stretched out his claws and pretended to take off his clothes. But the beautiful male slave quickly slapped away Yi Jioga's claws, and his pair of cold black eyes were as fierce as a wolf's. Yi Jioga looked at the back of her hand that was slapped red, and secretly remembered this grudge. She took out a pink dress from the wardrobe and threw it on the beautiful male slave and then sneered, When I come back you'd better change your clothes, otherwise. Yi Jioga left the room with 2 cold snorts. As soon as she sat down in the outer hall, Mother Qing came in with a group of young maidservants and said, Eldest miss, this old servant has brought the people, you can choose them. Yi Jioga glanced at them and found that the youngest of these maidservants was 10 years old, and the oldest was 12 years old. Although they were young, they were very strict with their rules. They all lowered their eyes and did not dare to look at her. Especially the 2 sisters named Qing Lu and Qing Hu. They looked inconspicuous, but their temperament was very steady. At first glance, one could tell that they were good seedlings. Yi Jioga was quite satisfied with these young maidservants and said to Mother Qing, I think they are all good, they can all stay. Hurry up and thank eldest Mississippi, Mother Ching happily said to the young maidservants. This servant thanks eldest Miss. The young maidservants bowed in a well-behaved manner. After Mother Ching asked Pearl to take the 8 young maidservants away and settle them down, she came to Yi Jioga's side and said in a low voice, Eldest Miss Ching Lu and Ching, who are the granddaughters of our Yun family's old man. They are steady and the most loyal. This old servant wants to send them to Qiushui Yuan to serve. What do you think? Stay in the courtyard for a period of time. Later I will give you a few medicinal diet recipes. Let them learn it well before serving 4th Mississippi. The current Qiushui Yuan was comparable to a dragon's pool and a tiger's den. If these 2 little maidservants didn't learn some skills, they would not be able to escape from Mother Chio's evil hands. Eldest Miss, rest assured this old servant will definitely train them well. Mother Ching nodded solemnly, and then her eyes couldn't help but drift towards the east wing. She didn't know if the beautiful male slave was still there. Pass down the order, no one is allowed to come near the east wing. Yi Jioga seriously ordered. Before she subdued the male slave, no one was allowed to see him. This old servant understands. Mother Ching decided to personally guard the east wing and not allow anyone to come near. After Yi Jioga sent Mother Ching away, she returned to the east wing. When she opened the door, she saw a painting of a beautiful man. Chapter 20. He saw the male slave wearing a pink dress sleeping on the bed. His black and beautiful hair fell like a waterfall beside the bed. A red mole between his eyebrows reflected his beautiful face. It was a beautiful picture of a handsome man. Yi Jioga brushed his hair. He looked dirty in the slave's nest, but he didn't expect him to be so clean. It seemed like he didn't need to be thrown into the bathtub to wash. Little Jioga, you like this kind of sissy? Zishang's dissatisfied voice came out. How do you know he's a sissy? This male slave didn't say a word from beginning to end. Yi Jioga couldn't see where his mother was, but he felt that he was very fierce, like a wild wolf in a desperate situation. His face is like a woman's. If he isn't a sissy, then what is he? Zishang regretted letting Yi Jioga bring this male slave back. He hadn't taken down little Jioga yet. What if this sissy took him away? No, he had to get rid of this sissy when he had the chance. If a face like a woman is a sissy, then you must be the most sissy demon in the entire demon race. Yi Jioga sneered. With Zishang's heaven-defying beautiful face, he still had the nerve to laugh at others. So that's how it is. Zishang suddenly realized and then smiled proudly. Little Jioga really loves me the most. Thinking too much is an illness, it needs to be cured. Yi Jioga rolled his eyes, then lowered his head and poked the male slave's face. Seeing that he still didn't wake up, he immediately felt a little worried. He slept all day and was completely useless. But to cure this soul-leaving demon poison, he needed the soul-leaving python's accompanying spirit grass, purple serene flower. Purple serene flower was very expensive. The cheapest was 1,000 taels of silver. Buying it for this male slave was too much of a loss. You better be worth this price or else I'll sell you to a small restaurant. Yi Jioga pinched the male slave's beautiful face, took 1,000 taels of silver and prepared to go out to buy purple serene grass. I advise you to change your appearance when you go out. Zishang's voice sounded again. But Yi Jioga raised his eyebrows. Because it's troublesome. Zishang said. Yi Jioga carefully thought about it and understood Zishang's meaning. This slave's origin was unknown, and he was poisoned with such a rare demonic poison. Disguising himself was a piece of cake for Yi Jioga. She covered the black scars on her face with powder and patted her face. Then she turned into a girl with an ordinary face. Even Mother Ching couldn't recognize her. An expensive elixir like the purple serene flower could only be found in large pharmacies. Although the Yi family had a few big pharmacies in Shangjing, Yi Jioga was afraid of being recognized, so he chose another big pharmacy called 100 Herb Hall. At this time, there were 7 or 8 assistants in the simple and unadorned medicinal hall, arranging medicinal herbs to entertain the guests. Seeing Yi Jioga come in, a tall and thin shop assistant immediately greeted him enthusiastically. Sir, are you here to get medicine or see a doctor? Do you have any amethyst grass? Yi Jioga asked. The shop assistant's face stiffened, but he quickly regained his composure and said in an even more enthusiastic manner, Only the shopkeeper can sell spirit herbs like the purple serene flower. Please go to the private room and wait for a moment. I will immediately call the shopkeeper over. Yes. Although Yi Jioga felt that the attitude of the shop assistant was a bit strange, she thought that such a big pharmacy wouldn't trick her, so she went to the private room and waited. The shopkeeper quickly rushed over with a red brocade box. He smiled and said, "Honored guest, please forgive me for not coming out to greet you. My surname is Jean, how may I address you?" "My surname is Su." Yi Jioga casually gave a fake surname and said, "I want to buy a stalk of amethyst grass. Does shopkeeper Jean have it in stock?" "Miss Su, you came at the right time. Our store just bought a stock of high-quality amethyst grass. Please take a look and see if it is suitable." Shopkeeper Jean opened the brocade box and placed it on the table. Inside was a stalk of glowing purple spirit herb. It was 7 inches long and had a complete root. It carried a faint fragrance. It was indeed of high quality. "How much does shopkeeper plan to sell it for?" This stalk of spirit herb was packaged so beautifully. Yi Jioga guessed that it would cost a lot. "Pardon me for asking, but what kind of elixir does Miss Su plan to refine with this herb?" Shopkeeper Jean asked with a smile. "What? Does your store need to exchange elixir recipes for elixirs?" Yi Jioga smiled faintly, but a trace of vigilance rose in her heart. Shopkeeper Jin's question clearly had a deeper meaning. Of course not. This old man just felt that someone who can use a level 3 spiritual grass to refine pills is after all a capable person. "Therefore I wanted to make friends with you. If I caused young lady Su to misunderstand, please forgive me." Shopkeeper Jean hurriedly apologized. "Let's cut to the chase. How much is it?" Yi Jioga asked directly. She felt that something was wrong with shopkeeper Jean. 1,000 silver taels. I'll take it as making a friend. Shopkeeper Jean said straightforwardly. Deal. Yi Jioga took out 1,000 silver taels and declined shopkeeper Jin's invitation to taste tea. She quickly left 100 Herb Hall. She had only taken a few steps when she realized that someone was following behind her. Yi Jioga did not make a sound. She circled around a few times before she could clearly see the people following her. There were a total of 3 people. They were all martial artists who trained in the body refinement realm. Their tracking techniques were not brilliant and they did not look like they were experienced. Yi Jioga led them to the most remote alleyway in Shangjing. Her figure flashed and disappeared. The 3 martial artists chased her to a dead end and did not see Yi Jioga. They immediately shouted in surprise, "Where is she? Where did she run off to?" "Big brothers, what business do you have with me?" Yi Jioga walked out from behind them. The 3 martial artists were immediately shocked. The short and fat martial artist's eyes turned and he immediately revealed a sinister smile. "Little girl, if you have the money to buy spirit herbs from a medicine store, you must have brought a lot of silver with you. Hurry up and hand it over." "I didn't know that the Imperial Guards were so poor that they had to rob me." Yi Jioga narrowed her eyes. She had just discovered that the 3 martial artists had thick calluses on their palms. That was a mark that would only appear after practicing with the long spear for many years. In Shangjing, only the Imperial Guards needed to practice with the long spear. If it weren't for that, she would have already killed these 3 people. The 3 martial artists discovered that their identities had been exposed. They immediately revealed a fierce smile and said, "Since you know, then obediently come with us." As they said this, they pounced towards Yi Jioga. Ping ping ping. Yi Jioga lifted her leg and kicked the 3 people away. "If you want to live, then tell me honestly. Who sent you to follow this miss?" Yi Jioga grabbed the short and strong martial artist's hair and pulled his face up. "No one sent us. We saw that you were easy to bully, so we followed you," the martial artist said stubbornly. "It seems that you won't shed a tear until you fall into the coffin." Yi Jioga lifted her leg and stepped on the martial artist's calf. 0. The martial artist's calf broke into 3 pieces. He let out a miserable cry. It's been a long time since I interrogated someone. My skills are a bit rusty." Yi Jioga shook her head and said regretfully, "Originally I only wanted to step on him in 2, but I accidentally turned it into 3. Don't worry, I'll change the place and I guarantee that I'll give you a quick death." As she said this, she lifted her leg again. Chapter 21. Don't step on it, don't step on it. The short man begged for mercy. "I'll tell you, okay? Yijioga's right foot hung above his calf. He lowered his head and said, "Speak, I'm listening." "Yes, it was shopkeeper Jean from the pharmacy who asked us to follow you. He wanted to do the dirty work," the short and strong man said with a trembling voice. "You still dare to lie to me?" Yijioga raised his eyebrows. That 100-herb hall had been operating in Shangjing for so many years. They wouldn't go so far as to ruin their reputation for a spiritual herb. Someone must be threatening them from behind. "I'm not lying to you. I'm telling the truth." The short warrior insisted that he wasn't lying. Hehe. Yijioga stomped down with his right foot. Perfect halves. The short man fainted from the pain. "Who's next? If you want to have your bones broken into several pieces, just say it in advance. I won't wait until the deadline." Yijioga turned around and revealed a charming smile to the remaining 2 martial artists. I'll talk. The remaining 2 people were obviously not as noble as the short and strong martial man. They straightforwardly betrayed the mastermind behind the scenes. "It was the Crown Prince who asked us to monitor the pharmacy and follow the person who bought the purple serene flower." "Crown Prince?" Yijioga raised her eyebrows. Why was her ex-fiancé suddenly so interested in the purple serene flower? Could it be that he had taken a fancy to that male slave's beauty and wanted to do something to her? That's why she escaped. Of course, this possibility was very small. It was more likely that the male slave had something very important to the Crown Prince. It seemed that he had picked up a treasure this time. Yijioga was in a good mood, so he spared the lives of the 3 martial artists and quietly returned to the Yi Mansion's Purple Forest Park. At this time, the male slave had just woken up. When he saw her, his expression immediately turned cold. "Little handsome man, come smile for me. If you can make me happy, maybe I'll be merciful and spare your life." Yijioga couldn't help but tease him when she saw him like this. The male slave's expression did not change, but his eyes flashed with deep disgust. "All right, I won't tease you anymore. Let's get down to business." Yijioga's expression turned serious as he asked, "Do you know what kind of poison you have?" The male slave didn't say anything. "Demonic poison soul detachment, a poison unique to the 3rd-rank demonic beast soul detachment python. The poisoned person's entire body will become weak and their spiritual power will be suppressed. They will often fall asleep and die within 7 days." Yijioga paused for a moment before continuing. "From the looks of it, you only have 4 days left to live. What do you think?" The male slave's pupils shrank slightly, and his beautiful red lips tightened into a straight line. "To detoxify this poison, you need the purple serene flower. However, I went to the pharmacy today and heard that the Crown Prince bought all the purple serene flowers and is investigating the person who bought them." As Yijioga spoke, he observed the male slave's reaction. He frowned slightly as if he was thinking. It didn't seem like he had a grudge against the Crown Prince. If he had nothing to worry about with the Crown Prince, then why did the Crown Prince pay so much attention to him? Yijioga suddenly thought of the soldiers searching for the escaped slaves of the Su family on the street. He immediately asked, "Are you an escaped slave of the Su family?" When the male slave heard the 2 words Su family, his black eyes immediately shot out a deep hatred and he clenched his fists hard. It was obvious that Yijioga had poked his sore spot. "Very good, now we can be friends." Yijioga smiled with satisfaction. The male slave looked at her doubtfully. "Do you not recognize me?" Yijioga asked. The male slave shook his head hesitantly. "Then let me solemnly introduce myself to you. My name is Yijioga, the former fiancée of the Crown Prince and the current stepdaughter of Su Yufeng. Do you think these 2 things are sincere enough?" Yijioga wiped off the disguise powder on her face, revealing her true face full of black scars. She smiled and said, "I thought my notoriety had spread throughout Shangjing. I didn't expect that there would still be people who don't know me." The male slave looked at Yijioga's face for a long time before nodding his head. His red lips moved slightly as he silently said, "Friend. Since you are so sincere, this miss will be merciful and help you detoxify the poison." Yijioga took out the purple serene grass from her sleeve and said with a smile, "This spirit grass is 2,000 taels, the alchemy cost is 1,000 taels, plus the 3,000 taels I spent on you, it is a total of 6,000 taels. If you don't pay me back, you will be my slave for the rest of your life. If you agree, nod your head." "Little Jioga, how come this sovereign didn't realize that your heart was so black?" Xianxia suddenly felt a little sympathy for this male slave. Your heart is not black, then you help him pay me back. I will give you a 10% discount. How about 5,500? Yijioga replied. Xianxia immediately stopped talking. It was better to let Yijioga cheat others. The male slave stared at Yijioga as if saying, You are cheating me. If you think your life is not worth 6,000 taels, then forget it. Go out and turn left. I won't send you off. Yijioga put away the spirit grass. The male slave gritted his teeth and nodded fiercely. A wise man submits to circumstances. I appreciate smart people. Alright, I will go and refine pills now. You just wait obediently. Yijioga left the room with satisfaction. Xuan had always claimed that the Yi family was an orthodox alchemy family, so every daughter's courtyard had an alchemy room, even the Purple Forest Park was no exception. However, this alchemy room was especially small, and the alchemy furnace was also of the lowest quality. Fortunately, this purple nether grass is not difficult to refine. Otherwise, in the middle of the night, I really don't know where to find an alchemy room. Yijioga quickly raised the alchemy fire. The purple nether grass was the companion grass of the soulless python. Even if it was eaten raw, it would still be able to cure the poison of the soulless python. However, the male slave had been poisoned for too long, so the effect of eating it raw was not great. He had to refine the grass inside. Yijioga placed the purple nether grass into the alchemy furnace and skillfully controlled the alchemy fire to begin refining. The purple spirit grass slowly melted under the high temperature, finally condensing into a ball of purple medicinal liquid. Strange. Yijioga frowned slightly. She remembered that the medicinal liquid after refining the purple nether grass should be purplish-black. Why was it such a light purple? With the quality of this purple nether grass, this kind of situation should not have happened. She moved closer to the alchemy furnace and carefully observed it. She discovered that the medicinal liquid was very weak, and even if she consumed it, it would not be able to completely detoxify the poison. Could it be that there was a problem with this spirit grass? At this moment, the purple mark on her wrist suddenly emitted a purple light and wrapped around the medicinal liquid. You have fallen into a trap. This purple nether grass has been smeared with thousandly fragrance. Xianxia said solemnly. Thousandly fragrance, thousandly tracking incense. Yijioga's pupils suddenly shrank. If she did not find a way to get rid of this medicinal liquid, her and the male slave's identity would be exposed. At this time, in the demon beast room of the crown prince's residence, a large black butterfly gently flapped its wings and lightly flew out of the room. Follow me, you must bring him back. Crown Prince Dongfang Jianming said with a sinister expression. Chapter 22. The pitch-black butterfly fluttered in the moonlit night, fluttering past every house, and finally stopped at the entrance of a tall courtyard. Dongfang Jianming looked up and saw the plaque with the words Su Residence written on it. He suddenly became suspicious. How did this fragrant butterfly come here? Your Highness. The guard captain looked at Dongfang Jianming inquiringly. Knock on the door. Dongfang Jianming ordered coldly. Yes. The guard captain immediately went to knock on the door. When the servants of the Su residence saw that the crown prince had come in person, they quickly welcomed him in. The Su clan's patriarch was in seclusion, so his son Su Junqing personally came out to greet the crown prince. He asked in surprise, Your Highness, why did you come so late at night? Dongfang Jianming's face was black and he didn't say a word. He raised his finger and the fragrant butterfly immediately flapped its wings and flew into the front yard of the Su residence. Finally, it stopped at the door of an alchemy room. Dongfang Jianming rushed in and opened the alchemy furnace. He saw a drop of lavender amethyst grass medicinal liquid lying inside. Su Junqing, why is my amethyst grass in your alchemy furnace? Dongfang Jianming pointed to the alchemy furnace and asked sternly. He collected all the amethyst grass in the city and picked out the best ones to soak in 1,000 miles fragrance before putting them back in several big pharmacies. He wanted to find out who took in that kid. But he didn't expect it to be the Su clan. Your Highness, this subordinate is wronged. This subordinate has never seen this amethyst grass. Su Junqing hurriedly cried out. Few people usually came to this alchemy room. He didn't know how this amethyst grass came out. Could it be that this amethyst grass grew legs and ran to your alchemy furnace? Dongfang Jiaming's expression was fierce as he said, I was wondering how that Yi kid could escape from the soldiers' encirclement. It turns out that you're the one who helped him. Your Highness, this subordinate is wronged. Su Junqing knelt on one knee and cupped his hands to Dongfang Jiaming. In order to help you get the treasure map, this subordinate gave up his wife and son. How can I betray you for a brother-in-law who is full of hatred for this subordinate? Dongfang Jiaming thought of the ruthlessness of killing his wife and family and gradually calmed down. Thinking about it carefully, he felt that this matter did not seem to be done by Su Junqing. He was not that stupid. Dongfang Jiaming personally reached out to help Su Junqing up and comforted him. This king was anxious and spoke harshly. Junqing, don't take it to heart. This subordinate doesn't dare. Su Junqing made a wronged and touched expression. Dongfang Jiaming patted him on the shoulder and said with a sigh, the treasure map is of great importance. You can understand it even without me saying more. You must catch that Yi brat as soon as possible. He won't live for more than a few days with the soul-detaching spell. It will be troublesome if he dies. This subordinate understands, Your Royal Highness. Please rest assured that this subordinate will find him as soon as possible. Su Junqing nodded repeatedly, but in his heart he was secretly cursing Dongfang Jiaming for speaking after the fact. He had already said that the kid surnamed Yi was not afraid of death. It was useless to threaten him with the soul separation. In the end, Dongfang Jiaming didn't listen to his advice and blindly commanded from the side, allowing the kid surnamed Yi to escape. Junqing, work hard. This empress will not treat you unfairly. Dongfang Jiaming smiled and then pretended to casually mention, I heard that your aunt has been grounded by Master Yi recently. Yes, Xianxia has been begging us to help her mother for the past 2 days, but her father is at a critical juncture in his secluded cultivation. As a junior, I can't say anything to my uncle. It's really difficult. Su Junqing sighed and then sincerely said to Dongfang Jiaming, Your Royal Highness, please do Xianxia a favor for the sake of our Su family's loyalty to you. That girl has always been deeply in love with you. You've been ignoring her recently. She's so sad that she can't even eat. Xianxia, this silly girl. This king has been too busy recently, so I didn't have time to see her. How could she let her imagination run wild? Dongfang Jiaming's face showed a doting expression and said, If that's the case, then this king will go see her tomorrow and have a good chat with Master Yi. In any case, Xianxia's mother is also the mistress of the Yi family. Even if she did something wrong, a little punishment is enough. Your Royal Highness is right. Su Junqing showed a smile of understanding. But you still have to investigate the matter of the purple serene grass. Dongfang Jiaming's face turned serious. Your Royal Highness, rest assured. This subordinate will definitely give you an explanation. Su Junqing also wanted to know who was framing him. Just when Dongfang Jiaming and Su Junqing turned hostility into friendship, Yi Jiuge was preparing to steal the purple serene grass in the Crown Prince's residence. The Crown Prince's residence was usually heavily guarded, but Dongfang Jiaming had just taken away a group of expert spirit guards. Now the security was very relaxed. Yi Jiuge secretly took out the purple serene grass and successfully refined it into an antidote. The medicinal liquid was a rich purple with the unique fragrance of the spirit grass. It was undoubtedly the genuine product. After she put it in a small jade bottle, she went to the east room to show off. See, this is the antidote that I made with great effort. Yi Jiuge shook the small jade bottle in his hand and explained the process of making the antidote. In the end, he said with regret, unfortunately there was not enough time. The method of framing the Su family was not clever enough. I guess the Crown Prince will not be fooled. When the beautiful slave heard the 2 words Su family, his eyes flashed with a fiery light. He reached out to grab the small jade bottle. What's the hurry? Yi Jiuge patted his hand and said, I can give you the antidote, but after you take the medicine, you must explain everything to me clearly. If you agree, then nod. The slave nodded without hesitation. Yi Jiuge then stuffed the jade bottle and a piece of cotton cloth into his hand. Spit it into the cloth later. After the slave drank the medicine, his beautiful and cold face suddenly turned purple. He opened his mouth and spat out mouthfuls of black blood. Yi Jiuge waited for him to finish vomiting, then poured a cup of tea for him and asked, Can you speak? Yes. The slave's voice was unexpectedly pleasant to hear. What's your name? How did you become enemies with the Su family? Yi Jioge asked while cleaning the poisonous blood. My name is Yi Yu. Yi Yu slowly explained where he came from. He came from a very famous assassin family. 30 years ago his grandfather accidentally got a treasure map. Since then he was chased by people from all walks of life. He had no choice but to live in seclusion with his family in a mountain forest in the suburbs. He didn't know if it was because of the heavy killing intent of being an assassin, but the descendants of the Yi family were very poor. In Yi Yu's generation there were only him and his sister Yi Yunji. Yi Yunji was 5 years older than Yi Yu and had the aptitude of a gold spirit root. She was gentle and kind. Although she also practiced the family's secret skill, she could not bear to kill. Moreover, she yearned for the world outside the mountain. One day she sneaked out of the mountain when her family was not there. Unexpectedly, she created an ill-fated relationship. Chapter 23. As soon as Yi Yunji left the mountain, she saved Su Junqing, who was accidentally bitten by a poisonous snake. The two had a peaceful relationship. Yi Yunji secretly married Su Junqing and didn't even dare to tell her family. After the marriage, Su Junqing treated Yi Yunji very well. After she got pregnant, he encouraged her to bring him back to visit her family. Yi Yunji also missed her family very much, so she brought Su Junqing back to visit them. She didn't expect that she didn't bring back a good husband, but a devil full of schemes. Su Junqing had the ambition of a wolf. He had already found the valley where the Yi clan lived. However, the Yi clan had set up a formation around the valley. He couldn't enter, so he sent people to guard the vicinity. As soon as Yi Yunji left the mountain, he received the news. He pretended to be poisoned to lure Yi Yunji into the valley. Yi Yunji told Su Junqing the way to enter the valley without any doubt. Su Junqing immediately surrounded the valley with his killers, threatening them to hand over the treasure map. The Yi clan would rather die than submit. Only Yi Yu was captured alive and forced to drink the soul separation poison. The guards saw him sleeping all day and relaxed their vigilance. Yi Yu took the chance to escape, but he didn't expect to faint halfway and be picked up by the slave leader to be taken to the slave market. He escaped the imperial guard's search and was finally bought by Yi Jioge. Yi Yu's beautiful eyes became bloodshot when he talked about his family being killed. Deep hatred spread across his face. Your family was killed by Su Junqing. What about your sister? Yi Jioge asked. I don't know. I haven't seen her since I was captured. Yi Yu's eyes were cold and filled with hatred. If his sister didn't trust a thief, she wouldn't have brought about the extermination of her family. Women. Yi Jioge couldn't help but think of a famous saying. A woman's tears after marriage are the water in her brain before marriage. Yi Yunji's brain wasn't water but acid. That was why she fell in love with an ingrate. Lady Yi, the hatred of my family is absolutely irreconcilable. As long as you can help me get revenge, I'm willing to give you the treasure map. Yi Yu looked up at Yi Jioge. He believed that an apothecary who could cure the soul separation poison would definitely help him get revenge. I'm guessing your treasure map isn't complete. Yi Jioge raised his brows. If the treasure map was complete, why would the Yi clan hide it and not search for the treasure? Now that her grandfather's whereabouts had yet to be found, Yi Yuxuan was eyeing her covetously. She really didn't want to get into trouble for a useless treasure map. To be honest, if this treasure map wasn't something that Dongfeng Jianming and the Su family couldn't forget, she wouldn't even look at it. Yi Yu saw Yi Jioge's expression and hurriedly said, although that treasure map is only a fragment, there is an artifact recorded inside. Whoever obtains that artifact will be able to dominate the Thunder Nation. Dominating the world has nothing to do with me. Yi Jioge wasn't that ambitious. Yi Yu panicked. He had no choice but to reveal his trump card. Our Yi clan has been studying the treasure map all these years. We have confirmed that the location of the secret treasure is in the secret realm of the Scarlet Moon. Are you sure it's in the secret realm of the Scarlet Moon? Yi Jioge's expression immediately turned serious. The Red Moon secret realm was the biggest secret realm that the humans had discovered so far. It only opened once every 10 years, and every time, countless spiritualists would go in to search for opportunities. Grandfather had found the purple lightning wood in the Scarlet Moon mystic realm. If he went there, he might be able to find some clues about his grandfather. Absolutely. Yi Yu said without hesitation. Yi Jioge was silent. He called out to Zishang in his heart. What do you think? Since your enemies are the same, helping him is equivalent to helping yourself. Zhishang said lazily. You say it so easily. I'm afraid that once we get our hands on this treasure map, it won't be just the Su family and the crown prince who will come looking for trouble. Just look at the Yi clan being killed. Without enough power to protect it, taking the treasure map was simply suicide. With me here, what are you afraid of? Zhishang was extremely arrogant. We'll talk about it when you don't have to hide in the imprint. Although Yi Jioga despised Zhishang's arrogant tone, he still felt a lot more at ease. He said to Yi Yu, "Alright, I'll help you take revenge. However, the Su family and the crown prince aren't that easy to topple. This matter needs to be considered at length. As long as I can take revenge, I can wait as long as it takes." Yi Yu finally heaved a sigh of relief. He couldn't help but reveal a tired expression. Although the soul leaf poison had been removed, his body was still very weak. You rest well first. We'll talk about the matter of revenge later. Yi Jioga comforted Yi Yu and left the east room. She came to the central room and called Mother Qing over. She asked, "Mother Qing, have you heard of the Su family's son, Su Junqing? There isn't anyone good in the Su family. Why are you asking about Su Junqing?" Mother Qing frowned and asked. "No, I just heard that Su Junqing married a good wife. So I casually asked." Yi Jioga pretended to be indifferent. "Where did eldest miss hear this rumor? Although Su Junqing has many concubines, he isn't married." Mother Qing asked curiously. "Are you sure he isn't married?" Yi Jioga was stunned. Just now, Yi said that Yi Yunji was married to Su Junqing and that she was pregnant. No matter how stupid Yi Yunji was, she should be clear whether she was married or not. Look at what you're saying. Su Junqing is the Su family's son, the future family head, and a famous young talent in Shangjing. If he married, how could this old servant not know? Mother Qing laughed involuntarily. "Oh, maybe I made a mistake." Yi Jioga smiled. In her heart, she despised Su Junqing to the extreme. This kind of scumbag who cheats money, cheats hearts, and exterminates people's entire family. Even if he died 10,000 times, it wouldn't be enough. "Eldest miss, I heard that Su Junqing is very handsome. He is the best at seducing young girls. You should stay away from him." Mother Qing worriedly warned. Eldest miss had already fallen into the hands of the crown prince once. Mother Qing did not want to see eldest miss get hurt by a bad man again. "Mother Qing, don't worry. Even if all the men in the world die, I will not fall for that scumbag Su Junqing." Seeing that Mother Qing wanted to continue nagging, Yi Jioga hurriedly changed the topic. "Oh right, Su Yufeng has been grounded for the past few days. Did anything happen?" She can be considered honest. On the other hand, second miss went to the Su family a few times to ask for help. However, she heard that the Su family head is in seclusion to break through to the Great Spirit Master level. Therefore, she returned without any success. When Mother Qing said this, she was both happy and worried. She was happy that there was no one to help Su Yufeng. She was worried that if the Su family had succeeded in breaking through, the Su family would rise to another level. At that time, Su Yufeng would be even more proud. Just as Yi Jioga was about to comfort Mother Qing, Zhenju walked in a panic and said, "Eldest miss, something bad has happened." Chapter 24. Why are you so flustered? Don't you have any manners? Mother Qing scolded in displeasure. Although Zhenju was loyal, she was lacking in rules. Even after being trained for a long time, she still didn't make much progress. After being scolded by Mother Qing, Zhenju suddenly shrank. Seeing her like this, Mother Qing got even angrier and said snappily, "What news did you get? Hurry up and say it." "Yes," Zhenju quickly said, "Master has removed the confinement order of Madame." "What removed?" Mother Qing was surprised. "I heard that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince personally came to plead for Madame. Now he is going to Ink Garden with Master." Zhenju said the news she heard in full detail. "What I'm afraid of really comes." Mother Qing was a little anxious. The little servant girl she brought back hadn't even finished her apprenticeship. How could Su Yufeng be released? Yi Jioga sneered. Although she knew that Su Yufeng couldn't be grounded forever, a dignified crown prince running to someone else's backyard and pointing fingers, wasn't that too big of a face? "Eldest miss, what should we do now?" Mother Qing asked anxiously. "What are you afraid of?" She has just been released from confinement. It's impossible for father to immediately let her manage the house. As for the medicinal diet recipe I gave you last time, how are Qing Hu and Qing Lu practicing? Yi Jioga asked. This old servant thinks it's almost done. Do you want to let them cook 2 bowls for you to try? Mother Qing asked. Sure. Yi Jioga hadn't tasted the cooking of the 2 servant girls. Mother Qing immediately went to pass the message. It just so happened that Qing Hu and Qing Lu were also practicing. Soon they came over with a bowl of heart-nourishing snow lotus soup. The white and transparent soup was served in a white porcelain bowl. It exuded a faint fragrance. It was smooth in the mouth and made the whole body feel comfortable. The taste is good. Yi Jioga felt that these 2 servant girls could finish their apprenticeship. Oh right, eldest miss, this old servant went to Qiushui garden a few days ago and heard that 4th miss caught a cold. Do you want to take this opportunity to send them over? Mother Qing had been laying the groundwork for Qing Hu and Qing Lu to enter Qiushui garden. Originally she thought that she still had a lot of time to prepare. She didn't expect that Su Yufeng would suddenly be released, so she could only send the 2 maidservants over in advance. Alright, tell Qing Hu and Qing Lu to get ready. I'll go see 4th sister first. Yi Jioga had been busy with Yi Yu's matters for the past few days, so he hadn't gone to Autumn Water Garden to see her. She took Shinju to Qiushui Yuan and saw the 5th concubine sitting on the seat of honor with her back straight. Her black hair was combed into a buyao, and a jade fan was inserted on her head. She was wearing a begonia brocade robe made of cloud-flowered satin, and her face was covered with makeup. She actually looked a little strange. Below her sat a beautiful woman dressed in an emerald green dress. Her eyes were as beautiful as autumn water. She was the 7th mistress, Mu Xiangwan. This concubine greets eldest Mississippi. 7th mistress hurriedly bowed to Yi Jioga. 7th concubine is too polite. Yi Jioga responded indifferently. Although she had not interacted much with Mu Xiangwan, she had the impression that she was a powerful woman. This concubine still has things to do, so I won't disturb elder sister and eldest Mississippi. 7th mistress sensibly took her leave. Younger sister, go ahead and do what you have to do. 5th mistress personally sent the 7th mistress out, then waved her hand to let the servants in the room leave. What is 5th mistress doing? Yi Jioga found it funny. Those who didn't know would think that the 5th mistress had something important to discuss with her. Eldest miss, why haven't you come to see this concubine these few days? This concubine is really unspeakably uncomfortable being stuck here all day. 5th mistress's originally straight back relaxed. Others thought that she had obtained the authority to manage the household and had limitless glory, but they didn't know that this responsibility was 1,000 caddies heavy. Su Yufeng had been the sole leader in the inner courtyard all these years, and at least half of the entire residents were her confidants. Even with the help of 7th mistress and Mother Qing, she couldn't immediately manage this household well. Wait for me to send 2 capable maidservants over to help you, then you won't feel so uncomfortable. Yi Jioga comforted. It's Qing Hu and Qing Lu, right? This concubine has long wanted to bring them over, but Mother Qing refused. She said that she wanted to keep them and teach them more rules. In fact, this concubine thinks that the 2 maidservants are good enough. 5th mistress truly felt that the 2 maidservants were good. You know Mother Qing's temper. If Furen wasn't suddenly released from house arrest, she wouldn't have sent them over so quickly. Oh yes, what did 7th mistress say to you just now? Yi Jioga asked. 7th mistress came to discuss with me just now. She wants to take the initiative to return the authority to Furen and see what master has to say. 5th mistress replied. 7th mistress's idea is good. I didn't expect her to be so sincere to you. Yi Jioga smiled. Although 7th mistress is a good person, this concubine can't see through her. 5th mistress shook her head. She and 7th mistress only formed an alliance to deal with Su Yufeng together. The only one who truly treated her and her daughter well without reciprocating was Yi Jioga. She was very clear in her heart. If you can't see through her, then be on guard. I heard that 4th sister isn't feeling well. Is she feeling better now? Yi Jioga asked. Much better. He just keeps talking about you. Young miss, if you have time, why don't you visit her? 5th mistress smiled. Mistress, let's go together. Yi Jioga and 5th mistress came to Yi Rui's room. Yi Rui was lying on the chaise longue reading a book. After not seeing her for a few days, her complexion was much better than before. Her skin was fair and her facial features were exquisite and beautiful. Those Peiyuan pills were really wasted. Big sister, why are you here? When Yi Rui saw Yi Jiuge, she immediately wanted to get up in surprise. Your body isn't good. Just lie down. Yi Jiuge sat on the edge of the lawn and glanced at the book she was reading. It was a beginner-level alchemy book. Fifth mistress said with some heartache. Master sent a total of 15 alchemy books. Rui has been reading them day and night. That's why she accidentally caught a cold. Fourth sister, you are still young and your body is weak. You don't have to be so anxious. If you overwork your body, it won't be worth it. Yi Jiuge said with a frown. Yi Rui smiled and didn't say anything. Yi Jiuge could tell at a glance that she didn't listen to him. This little girl was much more stubborn than she looked. Moreover, she always had a deep worry. She was always worried that she wouldn't be of use and would be abandoned. That was why she worked so hard. In the end, Yi Yushuan was too inhumane. He used his daughter as a tool. Just as Yi Jiuge was thinking about how to persuade Yi Rui, Mother Chiu came to report. Fifth mistress, young miss, second miss and young master Su are waiting in the front hall. They want to visit young Mississippi. Which young master Su? Fifth mistress blinked and didn't react for a moment. It's second Mrs. cousin, the legitimate son of the Su family, young master Su Junqing. Mother Chiu lowered her face to hide the contempt in her eyes. She didn't even recognize the young master of the Su family. Fifth mistress was really not presentable. Chapter 25. Su Junqing. Yi Jiuge couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. She didn't expect that she would meet the legendary Su Junqing so soon. First miss, do you know this young master Su? Fifth aunt asked doubtfully. Her status was low before and she and her daughter had been hiding in the shabby yard, so she hadn't seen Su Junqing. I've only heard of him. Yi Jiuge smiled and said to Mrs. Chiu, since second sister and young master Su are so kind, let's invite them in quickly. Yes. Mrs. Chiu bowed, but she was very disdainful of Yi Jiuge. She couldn't sit still when she heard of a handsome man. She was really fickle. Not long after, Yi Xianxia came in with a tall and handsome man. He was about 20 years old, wearing a golden crown and a gorgeous white robe. His eyes were full of affection and he smiled without saying anything, which was unforgettable. Yi Jiuge somewhat understood why Yi Yunji was fooled. The Su Junqing was really good-looking. Big sister is here too. Did you know that cousin was coming to visit fourth sister, so you came here to wait? Yi Xianxia smiled mischievously, but her eyes were full of contempt. She was satirizing Yi Jiuge's secret love for Su Junqing. Before Yi Jiuge could reply, fifth aunt had already said, second miss really likes to joke. First miss is not an immortal. How would she know that you brought young master Su? Even we didn't know that young master Su was coming until Mrs. Chiu told us. Seeing that fifth aunt was speaking for Yi Jiuge, Yi Xianxia wanted to tear fifth aunt's face. If fifth aunt and Yi Jiuge hadn't worked together to frame her, her mother wouldn't have been grounded. But thinking of the purpose of her visit, she immediately put on a smile and said, my cousin heard that fourth sister was sick, so he came with me to see her. Su Junqing, who was standing next to Yi Xianxia, smiled slightly and said, I heard that sister Rui eats foundation elixir very well, so I prepared a bottle of second-grade foundation elixir. I hope fifth madam and sister Rui won't mind. A bottle of second-grade foundation pill was worth 500 taels of silver. It was a big gift. This gift is too expensive. I can't accept it. Fifth aunt quickly refused. Fifth madam doesn't accept it, it means that you look down on me. Su Junqing gently but forcefully put the pill down. Then he smiled at Yi Rui and said, Sister Rui, are you feeling better? It was as if he and Yi Rui were very close. However, Yi Jiuge remembered that Yi Rui had never met Su Junqing before. Yi Rui was clearly not used to Su Junqing's gentle attitude. She lowered her eyes and said shyly, thank you for your concern, young master Su. I feel much better now. I'm a few years older than sister Rui. If sister doesn't mind, you can call me cousin like your second sister. Su Junqing smiled even more gently. That handsome face could make people drown in it. Yi Rui's face turned even redder. After hesitating for a moment, she finally called out, cousin. Yi Jiuge felt that something was wrong no matter how he looked at it. No matter how you look at Su Junqing's face, It looks like he's picking up girls. But Yi Rui was only 7 years old. Wasn't it too crazy to do it now? Su Junqing stayed for a while before saying his goodbyes. Before he left, he deliberately looked at Yi Jioga. A moving smile flashed across his affectionate eyes. If Yi Jioga didn't understand Su Junqing's scumbag character and knew that he wouldn't be interested in his ugly face, he would have misunderstood that he was interested in him. Fifth Madam personally sent Su Junqing off. When she returned, she was all smiles and kept praising Su Junqing for being gentle and polite. Yi Rui's face was red. When she heard her mother praise Su Junqing, she couldn't help but smile. It was obvious that she had a good impression of Su Junqing. Although at her current age she still wouldn't develop romantic feelings for Su Junqing. But she, who had always been lonely, really hoped that such a gentle and handsome brother with a high cultivation would dote on her. Thus she unknowingly developed childish admiration for Su Junqing. Fifth Madam, fourth sister, I think you still remember that Su Junqing is Su Yufeng's nephew. Yi Jioga had to remind the two of them who were overly excited. This concubine feels that this young Master Su is not the same as Su Yufeng. Fifth Madam said with justice. It really is different. I think this young Master Su is much more powerful than Su Yufeng. The moment he arrived, he charmed the two of you to the point where you couldn't even tell north from south. You even forgot about Su Yufeng's house arrest. Lifting the house arrest was the Crown Prince's request. It has nothing to do with young Master Su. Fifth Madam couldn't help but refute. Do you really think it doesn't matter? Or do you think that this young Master Su will help you deal with Su Yufeng in the future? Yi Jioga asked seriously. Young Master Su just said that Madam regrets what she did before. She said that Rui is the face of our Yi family. Supporting her is supporting the Yi family. Therefore she wants to bury the hatchet with us. This was what Su Junqing had said to her when she sent him off. Yi Xianxia, who was at the side, also had a face of agreement. Do you really think that you can coexist peacefully with Su Yufeng? Yi Jioga felt that Fifth Madam was simply crazy. Fifth Madam lowered her head guiltily to avoid Yi Jioga's gaze. She never had much ambition. If Madam was really willing to coexist peacefully with her, she didn't want to go against her. Fourth sister thinks so too? Yi Jioga turned to look at Yi Rui. I don't know. To be honest, Yi Rui didn't want to fight with Madam. But as long as she thought about the experience of being drugged by Madam that night, she felt very afraid. Yi Jioga frowned. She felt that something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Why did Fifth Madam and Yi Rui suddenly change their view of Su Yufeng? It was as if they were possessed. That's right. They are indeed possessed. Zishang's lazy voice sounded. What do you mean? Yi Jioga asked. Can't you see that? That Su Junqing has bewitched them. Zishang said. Bewitching. Yi Jioga was stunned. How could a spirit practitioner like Su Junqing practice such a crooked method? His bewitching skills are not shallow. These two women have been bewitched by him. If you continue to quarrel, it will only deepen the effect of the bewitching on them. Zishang said. Then how can we get rid of it? Yi Jioga quickly asked. When we go back we can give them 2 pills to clear their minds and detoxify them. Zishang replied. That's good. When Yi Jioga heard that there was a way to get rid of it, her heart immediately calmed down. In fact, the reason why the mother and daughter were so easily bewitched was because they always held on to the hope that Su Yufeng would let them go. Since that was the case, then let them have a good taste of Su Yufeng's methods. Otherwise, when they came to Autumn Water Garden, they would be blinded by wealth and be unable to distinguish between good and bad. However, this Su Junqing's bewitching skill was too powerful. Fifth Madam and Yi Rui actually fell for it the moment they met. Then could it be that Yi Yunji was also harmed by his bewitching skill and told him the route to enter the Yi clan's valley? You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.